What's up, everybody? Welcome to PS I Love You XOXO episode 11. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the virtual way, the OK Beast himself, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
What's up, Greg?
Not much. What's up with you?
I'm chilling. Not been up to much.
Here's the thing. So yeah, I'm sure someone is just listens to PS I Love You XOXO and doesn't see any of the other kind of funny content that we do, both on youtube.com/kindoffunny and youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Blessing, we of course are under not quarantine, right?
No, shelter at stay or something like that.
Shelter
Stay
something or other.
shelter.
Basically an
Yeah.
SF to stay the hell home. And we of course decided as a company we're going to stay home. So this is
Yeah.
day 3 of working from home and doing shows from home. And so my question to you, Blessing, is how often do you leave your bedroom?
Not that often, because
Yeah.
I live in a house that doesn't really have a common area. Like the only common area really is the kitchen, and so I'll leave my room to go make food. But then aside from that, I've been in my room for a good 5 days straight. It's been great.
Has it? Are you happy?
I mean,
Not happy.
video games help a lot. Is what I'll say. I've been playing a lot of video games, which I'll talk about later on in the show. But that's been helping a lot, especially for like the social experience. I've been playing a lot of Apex with friends. That's been helping.
Sure.
But then also like I've been doing Discord lunches with people, and so like around lunchtime, around
Discord
noon,
lunch?
it's just me and homies just hanging out on Discord while eating lunch. Like the first day was like me and Belinda, and then like Yusef joined in, and then Joey joined in, and we've just been getting like a whole crew together to just have lunches via Discord calls since we're all stuck in our homes in San Francisco.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's weird. You haven't invited me, but it's cool. I'm the boss, I guess. It's fine.
Do you want in? We can get.
No, I mean, I'm busy. I'm always doing something.
How are you holding up?
Oh, I'm good, but I know that I know your situation that you're like living with other people that aren't like your family or anything. Whereas I'm living with my wife and then, Lucy James from GameSpot. Like that's easy. And we're broken up into the 3 rooms and we really don't see each other much during the day, except for when something goes wrong with the internet. And then at night, everybody comes back out into the common area and, we all cook or hang out or watch something. But there's still like a separation. I feel like even for me, I'm working out of the living room on the coffee table. There's a separation where at the end of the night, I roll all the computer stuff up and push it over here and coil it up nicely to make the living room feel like the living room again. And I don't sit on the floor on my dog pillow. So it's like, I know that there's a separation for me. I just didn't know how it was for you.
Yeah, no, it's been weird, but I've been finding the small ways to cope and make sure that I'm staying in good mental health and physical health. And so like, I'll talk about later, but I've been playing Beat Saber. And I've been like, trying to go on walks, like whether I'm getting takeout food. It's been a fun thing to see that or not a fun thing, but it's been an interesting thing to see that it seems kind of, I don't know if there's just a me thing, but I feel like it's kind of eerie when I'm walking outside of like, man, everybody, like when I'm passing people on the sidewalk, for example, it's like we all kind of have this shared knowledge that things are kind of weird currently. And I also do the thing where I like the other day I was walking to get some takeout food and I'm like walking on the sidewalk and there's like a mom and her kid that are walking my direction. And I was like, I'm going to cross the street because I don't feel safe. Like that kind of thing, right? Like, where I'm
6 feet. We need 6 feet from strangers that you don't live with.
Distance, because I don't want y'all to sneeze on me. And so
exactly, you never know what's going to happen.
That's life right now. You never know what's going to happen.
You never know what's going to happen. I can tell you that today we're going to be talking about that PlayStation 5 event that happened over on Wednesday. The days have just run together, let alone that we're filming off schedule because of, number one, the Doom Eternal review took our usual recording spot. Then we just delayed the show even more to make sure we could see Mark Cerny's presentation. And now we get to talk all about it and catch up on a bunch of PlayStation stuff we haven't had the chance to actually talk about because this is PS I Love You XOXO. Each and every week, Blessing and I come together to talk about all things PlayStation with you, the Kind of Funny best friends. If you like that, you can be part of the show, patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. You can give us your questions, comments, concerns, and everything under the PlayStation sun. Then you can tune in, watch it live. If you're on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, you can watch it live as we record it. You can, of course, get the show ad-free, and you can get the show with that exclusive post show. If you have no bucks to toss our way, it's no big deal. You can wait till it goes up, usually every Tuesday morning, youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, roosterteeth.com, and podcast services around the globe. Housekeeping for you. Let's talk about our Patreon producers, of course. We got Mohammed, James Hastings, Evan Ballard, Steven Insler, Sencho West Gaming, Duval King Jabub, Cody Banks, the Secret Agent, Trent Berry, Max Blair, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, Tom Bach, Nano Support, Michael Bradley, and Joseph O. Youssef. Today, we're brought to you by Upstart, but I'll tell you about that later. For now, Blessing, kick it off with the X and O's.
So we have 6 items we're going to cover today. There's been a lot of PlayStation news, like you said before, and I've tried to condense to the ones that are necessary. That's the bell going off in my house, if you can hear that.
What's the bell signify? Does that mean it's the time for the X's and O's?
Oh yeah, this is the X and O's bell. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know you'd catch on to that.
I'm always happy to see you change up the segments and make them spicy.
Yeah, I like to keep you on your toes, Greg.
Thank you.
Number 1, the road to PlayStation 5. How would we pave it? And so this morning we got to watch Mark Cerny go off for about 52 minutes talking about a lot of the technical details for the PS5, which we'll talk about in a bit. And we talked about on our reaction, which it seems like from the internet in general, people are kind of underwhelmed by the stream. Before I get into it, actually, lay it out. Like, what are your top level thoughts on the stream we watched from Mark Cerny?
Cool. You know what I mean? Like I feel like this is what we're doing, right? This X's and O's, we're starting off with this conversation of, they called this the road to PS5, right? And then you had this great thing of, how would we pave it? What would we do differently?
Yeah.
You set the stage. Tell them what happened today, what got announced, and let's go from there.
So I'm actually just going to read through the PlayStation blog, because afterwards, after the whole presentation, they put out a blog update that basically kind of condenses down a lot of the 52-minute long presentation into a shorter blog post that'll help us kind of get an understanding of all the things that are presented to us. So I'm going to start from the PlayStation blog.
And thank God this didn't make things way more confusing and lead to a whole bunch of different tweets and responses. I'm glad this was solidified everything.
Oh, no, Greg, it did. It did make things more confusing. So I'm reading directly from the PS blog. They write, "We know that fans are excited to find out more about our next generation console, PlayStation 5, and exactly how it will bring about the future of gaming. Today, we're proud to unveil more details behind the technical and hardware components that make PS5 such an innovative and powerful platform. The ultra-high-speed SSD, integrated custom I/O system, custom AMD GPU with ray tracing, and highly immersive 3D audio. With these capabilities, PS5 will allow developers to maximize their creativity, building expansive worlds and new play experiences in the games they design." This presentation from Mark Cerny, lead system architect for the PS5, dives deep into the hardware system's architecture and how we designed PS5 to benefit developers and the games they create. As Mark discussed in his presentation, PS5's ultra-high-speed SSD and integrated custom I/O system were developed with the goal of removing barriers to play, specifically loading screens. Developers are able to stream assets into PS5 games at an incredibly fast rate, so PS5 play experiences can be seamless and dynamic with near instantaneous fast travel through large game worlds. This enhanced speed will enable game developers to create larger, richer worlds without traditional limitations such as load times, and also allows gamers to spend more time gaming than waiting. We also wanted to introduce new capabilities with PS5's custom GPU. Additional GPU power will allow for higher resolution in games, but a major new feature that benefits the visuals of games even further in ray tracing. Ray tracing simulates the way light moves in real life and how it bounces off various surfaces. Games that take advantage of this feature will render objects much more accurately and with heightened realism. Water, glass, light refraction, a character's hair, and so on will look even more realistic. PS5 will also allow games to offer a much more deeper sense of immersion through 3D audio. Visuals are, of course, imperative to the gaming experience, but we believe audio plays a crucial role as well. We wanted to deliver a compelling audio experience for all users, not just those who own high-end speaker systems. So we designed and built a custom engine for 3D audio that is equipped with the power and efficiency for ideal audio rendering. With 3D audio on PS5, the sounds you hear while playing will offer a greater sense of presence and locality. You'll be able to hear raindrops hitting different surfaces all around you, and you can hear and precisely locate where an enemy is lurking behind you, which Mark Cerny kind of demonstrated, not through like gameplay or anything, but he gave the analogy of like before in
Do you remember Dead Space? It's an old game. Here's how we were
and yeah, he was like, "Oh yeah, you'll hear enemies to the right, and you'll kind of be able to guess that they're behind you or whatever. He kind of gave the analogy of now when you hear a character's footsteps, for example, you'll know that they're exactly like 90 degrees behind you or like 85 degrees to the right or whatever. Like you'll be able to know exactly where they're at based on where they are through the audio. And then the blog continues. Lastly, we're excited to confirm that the backwards compatibility features are working well. We recently took a look at the top 100 PS4 titles as ranked by playtime, and we're expecting almost all of them to be playable at launch on PS5. With more than 4,000 games published on PS4, we will continue the testing process and expand backwards compatibility coverage over time. Make sure to keep an eye out for more PlayStation 5 updates down the road, and meanwhile, check out the chart below for the official list of PS5 specs, in which the chart below, I'll give a quick synopsis, right? Okay. CPU, 86 to 64 AMD Ryzen Zen 2, 8 cores, 16 threads, variable frequency. GPU, AMD Radeon, that's RDNA 2-based graphics engine, ray tracing acceleration, variable frequency, up to 2.23 gigahertz. That's 10.3 teraflops. System memory, GDDR6, 16 gigabytes, 448 gigabytes per second bandwidth. SSD, 825 gigabytes, 5.5 gigabytes per second read bandwidth, and then PS5 disc, Ultra HD Blu-ray. And then, the regular video out for 4K. And then audio is Tempest, which they talked about in the presentation, 3D audio tech. And so it's a lot of technical information that was talked about.
Sure.
And in the stream, they talked about it in a very technical way. Granted, the thing that we kind of assumed going in, and the thing that we can kind of not even assume, but the thing that's very obvious that was very obvious going into this presentation is that this was to happen at GDC. I believe they started off by saying that, like, Jim Ryan. Because of GDC's, Jim Ryan came out and was like, hey, this was supposed to happen at GDC, but, because GDC's not happening, Mark Cerny is here to give this presentation here in this format. It's a lot. I want to point out the backwards compatibility thing because I still don't feel clear.
Huge.
Yeah, like, during the presentation, they got to that part where they kind of showed off the what's and whys when it comes to backwards compatibility and how they go about backwards compatibility. And it showed why, or they showed that PS3 is able to play PS2 backwards compatible because of the architecture of the system. And they then illustrated that versus the PS5, which is going to be able to play PS4 Pro and PS4 games. The graphic they used was kind of weird because it looks like they show more room. So
the whole presentation was super weird. It's like, where do you want to start on dissecting what went wrong here? Again, when we do X's and O's every week, the idea isn't to rehash the news; it's to ask a question and have a discussion. And so, for you to ask me, the road to PS5, how would we pave it? This I feel is the first stumble we've seen for PlayStation 5 in terms of their marketing plan. And I get it. I know why it happened. I get why it happened. I understand why it happened. It's just shitty that it happened, right? Because you figure when the first Wired article popped, we woke up one day, you opened up Twitter, and there it was. The first details on the PlayStation 5. They're there. Cerny's talking about loads. You're like, whatever, that's crazy. Months later, they do another Wired drop. And I remember on both of them, the first time when people were like, why would you announce the PlayStation 5 this way? Why would you talk about your next generation console this way? There was this concern of like, oh, I don't know. Why would you do it? And blah, blah. And the second time around when they did it, you were like, at least for me, I was like, I get it. They don't want to have another February event. They don't want to have that February PlayStation 4 event where they come out and have a, with all due respect to everyone, boring presentation of here are the nuts and bolts. Let's get developers and indies excited. Like for the PlayStation 4 February event, I believe that's something that had to happen because it was a mea culpa. It was them coming out and saying, hey, PlayStation 3 was great, but it was difficult to work with and program for. And that's on us because the cell processor. PlayStation 4 is not that. PlayStation 4 is more powerful. It's basically a PC. You can port stuff easily. Let's go. Here's voxels dropping. Here's NAC. Here's a bunch of not big announcements in terms of games, but things showing what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. I thought, and this is interesting, right? Because in the presentation, one of the starting points for Mark Cerny was talking about revolution versus evolution, and that PS3 was, the success of the PS1, the PS2 getting to PS3, and then the PlayStation 4 was not trying to be a revolution. It was trying to be an evolution of all that. And PlayStation 5 is going to be an evolution of all that. And the thing they tossed up there is like these, ballpark median figures of what it would take for a developer to get up to speed with it. Right. And it was like 3 to 6 months. It was, all this amount of time till for PlayStation 5, they have it at less than a month, meaning that if you use PlayStation 4, you should be able to jump in here and be off to the races with your game. That's great. That's what they're saying. But the way they said all this, the way they got lost in the weeds, I feel like this wasn't an evolution of the PlayStation 4 February event. This was just it again in a less interesting format. And again, I get why. You can sit here if you're PlayStation and you have the PlayStation 5 coming, and there is understandably a lot of tech under the hood. And they are doing a lot of awesome stuff. I really appreciate their commitment here to this 3D audio stuff. I like how they're talking about with their drives and being frank of like, hey, like when I told Wired it was the most powerful drive, it was. Now they're almost caught up, and we expect by launch it will be caught up. And then you can use proprietary or you can use third-party drives, but it's got to be a very special size. Wait for us to sign off.
Like we're still figuring it out.
Totally, which is both. Oh, cool. Thank you for being transparent. And also, like, you're still figuring it out. Aren't we almost? I feel like launch isn't that far away. But this presentation, again, was on paper. We have the 2 Wired beats. Then we're going to GDC, and we're going to have all these developers there. We're going to have all these indies. We're going to have all these third parties. GDC is a nuts and bolts conference. When you go to a GDC panel, as I have many a time, often I sit there and go 4 seconds in, I'm like, oh, shit, this is way too complicated. They're not going to talk about their next game. They're talking about how quest systems work and how they do enemy AI and all this stuff that is legitimately looking behind like Neo in the Matrix and seeing all the lines. You see that in this presentation, that this presentation was meant for GDC and meant for developers and meant to be, hey, this is happening, and have a whole bunch of people like me and a whole bunch of people like IGN go to it or watch the stream and break out the news story of the, drive is expandable this way, but not for everything. It's got, what is it? 825 gigabytes for the SSD. Like those would have been cool headlines to get broken out. But when GDC went away, no one stopped to go, wait, should we still do this way? Should we still promote it this way?
Do you feel like if this happened though during GDC that it would be much different? Because I feel like Xbox, for example, Microsoft, for example, a couple days ago, they had their whole information breakout, and it felt a lot more digestible and seemed like something that would have also probably have been at GDC, given that it happened this week. Yeah, and I feel like where we're at, I was listening to Beyond earlier because they're also recording, I think, live right now, and I think Brian Altano made a very salient point in saying that we now have the most basic of info, which is the PS5 logo, and then the most deep, like advanced, like talk that they could have given about this thing. And we're at a place where we kind of need the middle. And Microsoft has been balancing so well, like the Xbox Series X and the middle of it, right? Talking in ways in which us as consumers can understand. Like, yes, this was meant for GDC, but for us as consumers, we're hungry and thirsty for PS5 info. And of course, like that is kind of a consumer problem. Like we'll get the info when we get the info. When we get the info and whenever it is, right? At that point, it's not going to matter that we're hungry for it now. But right now, where we're at, right? Like we're at a place where, they came out and gave a bunch of nuts and bolts, and everybody was going to tune into that anyway, because I assume this would have been a thing that they released to the public anyway. And I feel like they probably, if it came out GDC week, or if it was GDC week, I imagine they probably would have advertised it the same way and given the same talk, but it would have been real people as opposed to like the moving silhouettes that they had in the audience.
It was
like,
so weird.
I feel like it would have been the same amount of like, oh wow, that was like a really deep, very, very technical talk that their whole audience just watched. But in the context of being at GDC, which would lighten it a bit, but I don't think it necessarily would lighten it all the way in terms of now where we're at.
I don't either. I don't think it would have lightened it all the way either, but I think it would have given it the proper context. Like, and to PlayStation's credit, like I've seen a lot of the scuttlebutt here of like, why are people mad? Like they promoted this as it was going to be a deep dive with system architect, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I get all that and I understand that, but without the context around it, GDC, like this was just raw data and information blasted at you. Whereas I do think that like if this would have been at GDC, whether it was streamed or not. I disagree with you that I think if it would have been at GDC and there was a million conferences going on around it, I don't know if PlayStation would have promoted it the same way. Because they'd be driving it to the GDC streaming service, and not everything at GDC streams, so I'm fuzzy on if that would have worked. But even still, I don't know if they would have been like, you got to watch this. I think what you would have had instead was people are watching it, whether they're there or not, and breaking out the news stories and making it digestible. Because again, like, I didn't need, hey, here's how a hard drive works, and it starts out here and it works. And I'm like, I'm tired. I don't understand.
Or like, here's the shape of your ear and how that's going to relate to how
totally
how audio.
But like, if Matt Kim from IGN was there and he was reporting on that and he was getting headlines and you were getting a separate story on each one of those things broken out and there's just a couple paragraphs, I think it would have been digestible and way easier to understand. Now, just to make sure I'm on the same page and I'm saying my true opinions here, like, right, like, I think Xbox is doing a better job of that for sure on their own out the mouth. You know what I mean? Xbox has buzzwords and quotes, but like, you understand what it means. I understand what smart delivery is. You know what I mean? And granted, in the beginning, there was like when Cyberpunk
in the beginning, we didn't necessarily understand it totally. Yeah.
But they've done a good job of doing that. Whereas like PlayStation getting more into the weeds of all this stuff is like still playing in this situation very not loose with it, very specific with it, but opening the door to everybody. And what I told everybody I've talked to about today on this one, right, is like, now that we've gotten away, and especially for your question of like, what would we do if we were PlayStation in this situation? Yeah. I would have had this meeting where it's like, shit, Mark's got this whole great presentation. We need this information out to developers. Like, what do we do with it? And I would have done what they did, which is pre-brief Digital Foundry, so that when I don't know if you noticed this, when they hit play on their YouTube premiere, Digital Foundry's entire article went up. So I was reading ahead and knowing what Sony was going to talk about before he got there. Not the, minutia of it, but what these things were. I would have pre-briefed them. I would have pre-briefed other people. I would have had them ready to write about it. And then I would have done what Xbox did, but with the video. Where on Monday, we woke up and it was, what the fuck, Series X specs? What are you talking about? I would have done that today, where you wake up and guess what? There's a 52-minute video online that's Mark Cerny talking in depth about this. Because then there's no expectation set. There is no hype. As soon as you get out in front of something and you're like, guess what, everybody? Tomorrow, 9 a.m., video presentation.
Yeah.
Like, even for us going into it, I was like, how are they going to do this? Is it going to be like state of play? Is it going to be? So when it walked out on green screen with the podium, it was like, okay. And then they even had Jim Ryan do the introduction. And he did say, right, like, this is going to be a GDC thing, blah, blah. I would have done it completely different, where I would have, even if you want to leave it what it was, I would have had Cerny at his podium if that's what he wants to do, but I would have started with a shot of Jim Ryan talking straight to a camera down the barrel and just being like, hey, PlayStation Nation, it's me, Jim Ryan. As you know, we had to pull out of GDC, and the GDC can't cancel because, of course, the public health crisis going on right now. However, we have plenty of stuff we want to say about the PlayStation 5, communicate it to our developers, to our partners. We thought we'd invite you along to see it as well, though. So here, it's going to be this I would set this up in a way that from the beginning, people aren't like, because even us watching it, like, it felt like Tim was waiting for them to show new games. And granted, they could have, because they did that in February, but they never did. And so, like, get out in front of that and say that, like, this is a talk, that this is how we're going to handle it. You'll get a thing later on. Don't worry about it. But this is more explaining how the system's going to work.
Yeah, I think even simply just uploading it and not making it a premiere and just putting it on the channel and just naming it like Mark Cerny PlayStation 5 tech details presentation and just putting it up, I think would have been fine. Like, you would see a lot less people be kind of bent out of shape about it, because like when they set it up, the day before, by saying PlayStation 5 and saying tune in, like those words alone are buzzwords. That comes with something, and that the general audience is going to see that and be like, oh, okay, I should show up for this, because I've been waiting for the PS5 forever. I've been waiting for them to talk about the PS5 forever. Xbox has been talking about, or Microsoft has been talking about the Xbox Series X in ways that's been making me thirst for PS5 information. All right, I'm going to tune in for this stream. And you sit, and halfway through it, you realize what it is, and you're like, is this for me? Like, it's not this presentation was not for most people. Like, this presentation was for developers and people who really want to know. I really enjoyed watching this thing when I realized what it was, right? Like 10 minutes in, I was like, okay, I understand what this is. I'm here for the ride now. And I really enjoyed Mark Cerny talking about the ways in which level design is going to change because of the SSD, because of memory, or even like the ear stuff, or like the audio stuff. I found super fascinating. Like, it felt like I was listening to a professor giving a lecture.
No, really totally. And dude, that's what sucks the most about you missing your first GDC is like that's what GDC is. The amount of panels I've gone to and sat in and been like, oh, I'm not going to get a story out of this, but I'm interested in hearing what they have to say. I'm interested in some way learning a little bit about game development, what this is. Yeah, hell yeah.
And so, like, if I'm in the shoes of Sony, right, and I had to figure out how am I going to do this, right? As far as this video, okay, GDC is canceled. We'll upload the video to YouTube, and we'll just do it that way. We won't preface it. We won't advertise it. We won't say these are the first details or these are like brand new details on the PS5. We would just upload the video and say, upload it as Mark Cerny presents PlayStation 5 technical details. Call it a day, and then follow that up whenever we're ready with. And I, honestly, like, even if it is a side-by-side thing or a few days later thing of a follow-up that is for consumers, that is, all right, you guys got all the technical details. Now, here's how this works in practice. Here's the Spider-Man demo that we've shown behind closed doors. Here's how Spider-Man runs with an SSD as opposed to the hard drive on your PS4. Here's how this cuts out load screens. Yeah. Here's how we had to like adjust the subway system because now the cutscene is too long given how quickly it loads, right? Yeah. Like, let us actually see how this stuff works in ways that we've seen Microsoft do with Gears of War.
And you've come back around on it, right? And that's the thing about it, where I think right now, in this back and forth, who knows what about everything, I think it, at least in my mind, crystallized that Xbox is cool. Xbox is doing this in a cool way and feels inclusive, right? Whereas PlayStation, with just the Wired articles, it was this, there's this like mystique of like, when are we going to see it? What are they going to say? Blah, blah, blah. And then getting this, and remember the really limp dick reveal of the PS5 logo at CES. It's like, this isn't cool. You're not doing this in a cool, buzzworthy way. I mean, like, think about like when Xbox just dropped the fucking look of the console at Game Awards. Like, that was awesome. That was huge. Think about like on the Monday stuff. I keep going back to, of course, to wake up and read the Xbox Wire reports. But instead, there's also the Digital Foundry reports. There's the videos. There's the YouTuber Tim was talking about, right? That shows him using the quick resume and doing all this stuff. Like, it's out there in very interesting, digestible, jump to it ways. And Xbox is showing and not telling. PlayStation is telling and not showing.
Yeah, and part of me wants to think that maybe PlayStation is in 3008 right now, and they're in the future, and they are future looking in a way that we're just not seeing, because it feels like the ways in which they are presenting the PS5 so far is like a technical machine, right? They are presenting it as a piece of technology, which is what I think we want from our console manufacturers. Sure. But I think Microsoft is presenting the Xbox in a way that makes it seem like they have experience with this from a technology company, right? I don't know if this is the experience from Windows PC translating into how they're advertising the Xbox or what, but it feels like they are more in tune with how we like to consume this information nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it, right?
Seems like they're in the future.
Well, I mean, to use Mark's own stuff here, right? It's revolution versus evolution. And like, this is clearly the small evolution of how they did the PlayStation 4 reveal, trying to do that again with the PlayStation 5 reveal. And they're in a different spot now. And meanwhile, you have Xbox, right? That got their teeth kicked in the last console fight. And so, as we've seen with services, and I'll go back to this all the time, and taking care of the gamers, they've been light years ahead of PlayStation in terms of Xbox Game Pass, in terms of xCloud, in terms of the deals they're running all the time, and like the programs and the accessibility controller and all these different things. The controller lab, right? Like, I always talk about it. I know this is weird, but Xbox in some respects reminds me so much of when we started Podcast Beyond at IGN. And it was, me, Roper, Dunham, and Jeff. And it was, hey, nobody likes the PlayStation 3. Nobody owns the PlayStation 3. So if you were showing up to fucking listen to a podcast about the PlayStation 3, you cared about PlayStation in a way that was not fanboy-like, but was something connected to you. And I feel like it's the same thing here, where if you've been along for this ride with Xbox this entire time, and granted, you probably want more exclusives. You're happy to see these first parties. You're excited to see this all pay off. You're excited to see Microsoft listening to you and making programs that are built for you. And so to get here and see them having a revolutionary approach, not doing the same thing. Like, they could, if the reason PlayStation's thing reads and feels like the February event to an extent, and it's this thing, and what are they doing, is because they're doing it like they've always done before. Whereas Xbox is like, no, we first off can't do that. That didn't work last time. We need to be revolutionary and break out. And so, yeah, show the box at Game Awards without any pomp and circumstance. Go in and do these drops and have YouTubers play it and figure it out. Drop all this information on people, and it makes it exciting as to who knows what tomorrow or next week will bring or how they're going to reveal it, especially now that E3 is gone.
Yeah. For you, what would you say is the next step now for Sony? What is the next thing they show?
Before we even get there, I want to continue on this. What would you have done? Bless you. You're in these marketing meetings. They've already done the 2 Wired things, and they're like, cool, the next thing will be GDC. We're going to have this big presentation.
Well, sorry, I had a lamp that almost fell down.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, I was like, wait, is there about to be a mishap that gets caught on live recording?
We end up on live stream fails.
Room catches on fire. What would I have done if I was Sony in this situation? Or I just put out the 2 Wired articles.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'd do what Xbox is doing. Like I'm on the side of show don't tell.
Yeah.
Or show and tell. Whatever you do, show. Like I want to see how this stuff translates. I want to see how this stuff works. And so like I mean, being honest, right? I love the way that Microsoft has been disseminating information with the Xbox Series X. I would go about and figure out like what are the relevant points of interest for the PlayStation 5. All right, it's the SSD. All right, it's ray tracing. All right, but what do we have that then differs us from what Xbox is doing? Because Xbox also has SSD and ray tracing and all these things, right? Yeah. All right, we have the games. Are we ready to show the games? No, okay, I guess we're going to hold the games for later in the year, maybe a few months from now, when we have our big blowout. All right, well, we don't want to show the games. What do we want to show? We want to show the technology. All right, let's take the games that we know. We've talked about backwards compatibility. All right, let's take the games that we know are going to be backwards compatible for the next console and show the ways in which those games are going to take advantage of the next gen hardware and put those up as YouTube videos. Like, honestly, like that's what I would do.
Well, I mean, that would be the thing too. Like, I feel, and I'm not even, because again, this information needed to get out. I do think that, you could have handed basically this presentation over to, or film this presentation, had Sony available to Digital Foundry, had all the stuff happen. But then, like to take all of this and put it into a 1.5, 2 minute sizzle reel wouldn't have been impossible, right? Because what you're talking about would be like, play your favorite games better, right? Or play classic games better. And it is a side-by-side of God of War and or Spider-Man, whatever. Like, and this is what it looks like on PlayStation 4 Pro running and loading. And here's what it looks like on PlayStation 5. And show PlayStation 5 just crushing it and going through, like, while these are still loading, while this is still coming, while it doesn't look as sharp, show that idea to it, right? And like, do something with the audio 3D. And like, this is all stuff they'll do for the real PlayStation 5 event, but to do it now and have people get excited.
Like that, and that's my thing, is that like, I just think, I don't think the information itself that they have presented, there's nothing wrong with that information. Like most of it, is awesome. There are a few things that they talked about that had me kind of like, oh, like the backwards compatibility stuff. I was like, oh, I wish that was more.
Well, somehow keeps getting worse.
Yeah, like somehow it's like, oh, you went
throughout the day. It's been like, wait, what is going on?
Yeah, like before this presentation, I would have thought that all PS4 games are backwards compatible. Now it seems like only the 100 most played games are.
And that's the thing, is like, listen to this paragraph because it's so oof.
It's so weird.
But lastly, we're excited to confirm that the backwards compatibility features are working well. We recently took a look at the top 100 PS4 titles as ranked by playtime, and we're expecting almost all of them to be playable at the launch of PlayStation 5. With more than 4,000 games published on PS4, we will continue the testing process and expand backwards compatibility coverage over time. You're talking about you don't even have the top 100. The top 100 out of more than 4,000.
You're telling me that it wasn't going to work at launch? And I don't, maybe I misread one of the Wired articles, but I was very much under the impression that like
done. It's okay, whatever.
Cool, like backwards compatible. Okay, cool. I'm gonna be able to play all the games that I bought already on my PS5. Sweet. I guess not. Like, I guess I probably made a leap there when in my reading of those Wired articles. Or maybe we all made a leap there in our readings of those Wired articles.
And it's that thing where I've been getting so many different tweets about this and people pushing, right? Like Wario64 broke this out of the presentation, then deleted the tweet and apologized because he thought it was wrong, and then put it up again, right? And so it's just going like his was the screenshot of what we just talked about, right? Not really sure what to believe now. Certainly talks about boosting in the video in regards to the top 100 titles, but the PS blog seems to say the top 100 PS4 games is for general backwards compatibility, so which is it for sure. Then Wario quote tweets himself and says, decided to delete one of my previous corrected tweets to avoid confusion, since the PlayStation blog's language seems to confirm what I thought was right originally. About 100 PS4 games available at launch for backwards compatibility.
Do you think that's right? Do you think like maybe there's like weird wording going on there that's making it confusing? Do you think it is really like only 100 PS4 games are going to be backwards compatible for PS5? Because if so, why?
Yeah, what do they have to do and troubleshoot and go? Yeah, and like, but because you go back here, right? And so the original tweet from Wario was Sony took a look at the top 100 PS4 games based on playtime and are expecting almost all of them to be playable at the PlayStation 5 launch, and then deleted the one after that, and then it got into this thing I put up for you. And so it's incredibly interesting, confusing. The blog makes it clear. So, I mean, I'm putting out the Wario stuff for how misinformation, and maybe, hopefully, it gets cleared up. But the blog is saying strictly no boosting at all. Confirmed backwards compatibility features are working well. We recently took a list, expecting almost all of them to be playable at launch. So not like some bonus feature, playable at launch.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, to your point, becomes a what the fuck? Yeah, they made it sound like this was simple and that it was going to work backwards in the library.
Even in Mark Cerny's presentation of it today, he made it sound like it was a solved thing because he in the graphic itself, it compared it to how PS3 was backwards compatible with PS2. And I believe most PS2 games worked on PS3, like PS2 and PS1 games, which I imagine it was like PS2 is backwards compatible for PS1, so I imagine that's how PS3 would have played both of those systems. But it's such a that's kind of a tangent from what this overall talk is about. But still, like there are certain points in this whole presentation that made me go like, huh, like really, like, all right. And as far as like features for the PS5, it seems like we're still. I don't know if we're at a place where like we're still waiting on them to talk about like the specific unique features that make the PS5, right? Because Microsoft just talked about smart delivery and like, I mean, they talked about Game Pass and like a bunch of stuff that is on the Xbox One already, right? But we know we have like, or quick resume, right? They have certain features that they've talked about. Do we just assume at this point that PS5 is going to have something that is akin to quick resume, or are you assuming at this point that they've just not talked about it yet and that they're waiting to talk about these things?
I don't think you can assume they're going to have something on the same pivot as that. I think obviously that's something you'd understand that audiences want, but did they actually go and double down to it? Because this is a very specific to Greg Miller thing. Like, I like quick resume on my systems, both of them, but like, it's rare that I'm jumping between stuff where I mean, I can see why I would want that and why that'd be cool, but I'm not doing it enough to where that's been a pain point for me.
Yeah.
And so you wonder in the list of pain points PlayStation has gotten, is that there? Clearly backwards compatibility is one of them. So clearly it's a fucking, that you want to talk about how they're going to get dunked on beyond belief when they launch this. And if it isn't every PlayStation 4 game, but Xbox is like, we're just one system. We're the Xbox family. All your games are playing here. All this backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
Like
my worry so far with where we're at and where we're at specifically after this Mark Cerny talk is that most of the things that Mark Cerny talked about were things that are also on the Xbox.
Sure.
And so like that's what I'm talking about, like features, right? Like what are the specific unique features that make the PS5 the PS5?
Yeah.
Which those are things that I would have talked about. Like those are things that to the question of how would we pave the road to PS5. Those are the things that I would have brought up this week. The things that make this the console unique. But I'm still under the assumption that they're waiting. Like they still have those in the chamber and are waiting for a bigger PS5 state of play or bigger PS5 event to then unload all that stuff together.
Yeah. Yeah. You hope so, right? You hope that's the idea. And we talk about this PlayStation 5 reveal all the time. And like, you got to show the console, you got to give us a price, you got to talk. You got to do like, then it is the thing of though, are they going to come out and explain the new PlayStation Plus and the new PlayStation Now and like how that is a service to gamers and what that means and how it goes? I don't know. And like Xbox has already started all of that. So when Xbox comes out and here's the complete reveal of the Series X, here's the, pricing structure, here's what you're getting, here's what Halo Infinite looks like. Here's, what is on the games library now or Game Pass now and what is going to be part. xCloud is now available and you get all your shit everywhere. And like, there are so many different things in that ecosystem that you're like, you don't need to sit there and explain, and you don't need to even mix your messages. because that's where it gets interesting and confusing with what the PlayStation 5 reveal event would be, is that you can't come out and reveal the PlayStation 5 and then reveal all these brand new programs and have them steal headlines or carry the message away or do whatever. And granted, I don't think there's outside of them coming out and being like all games are free, nothing's going to steal the message away from PlayStation 5. But Xbox has already built so much that you already know, even if you're listening to this show right now and you've never in your life touched your Xbox or an Xbox and you're never going to, you know what Game Pass is, you know what xCloud is, you know what the accessibility controller is. Like, they've been in front of all that. So they get to come out and remind you of that, show you why that matters, tell you that, obviously at the launch, like all these games are going to be on xCloud. It's a weird mix up of what's going to happen. So then my question for this, again, you're still there. You're still in charge, Blessing. You told them not to do this, be more like Microsoft. What do you do now, especially as we are in this world of coronavirus? What do you do for the PlayStation 5 reveal event?
I mean, for the actual like reveal event, the event that we show off the PS5.
Yeah. Well, how do you introduce the PlayStation 5 to the world?
I mean, we've gotten all the boring information out of the way. I imagine like there can't be any more boring information to get out the way at this point. And so like we're having fun at the PS5 event, right? We're showing why we have personality. We're showing why like PlayStation fans are part of the PlayStation family, right? We're showing like we're leading off with the franchises that they love, right? And so like if I had to start off at this point, it's a state of play. Given the state of the world and given that that's a brand that we're trying to build, right? Like, what better way to build the state of play brand than to do a PS5 reveal with it, right? And so, I'm starting with the PS5 state of play. I am leading that off with God of War and Horizon, and not necessarily like the new, like the next versions of these games, like put in gameplay that we've seen from the previous iterations, right? And in fact, I'll start off like this. Horizon, God of War, Spider-Man. This would happen. Well, I guess I don't know when this would happen in relation to Last of Us. So let's leave Last of Us out of it for now.
Great question.
Days Gone, right? Like, I get a like, we do like a reel of those games, the big PlayStation exclusives, and then partway through that reel, we then have like a PlayStation 5 enhanced version of those games, where we then see those games running on PS5, and it is like a boom, like PS5 the next generation, like that, like kind of what we can expect from the power of the PS5. And then from there we do go game, feature, like make it all about the fun aspects of the PS5, because there's not much more boring things we can talk about at this point.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah. So yeah, that's the thing about it, is that when we've had this conversation before on Gamescast, before everything went to hell, it was that idea of like, yeah, what would you, I'm like, and I was so dead set that it was going to be a real event. It was going to be in a theater. It was going to have a stage presentation. It was going to be a press conference like the days of old. And now, like, with everything that's happened, there's no way to do that, right? Because like, obviously E3 is canceled and you can't get people to gather or travel easily anymore. So it has to be state of play. But in the same breath, like, state of play doesn't have the oomph you want for a console reveal, probably. And then today's thing, I thought, well, I'm glad to see them experiment, because like I remember last night thinking about this, like, what is it going to look like? How is Sony going to talk to us about this? Is it just him off a teleprompter, straight down? So like to add in the crowd to make it look like a GDC and give him a podium and put him on green, it was like, this doesn't read right either. This doesn't look right for this kind of information.
Really, it should have been IMO. It should have been like how Aonuma showed off Zelda Breath of the Wild when it was still on the Wii U, like where he was sitting in an office in front of a TV just talking to us, right? Like, doesn't necessarily need to be like all the way dumbed down, but they definitely went far with it in a way where it's like, I don't know if this is the way you want to show off a console.
Yeah, it's gonna be so fascinating, man. It's such such a crazy year for games before all this happened.
Same question for you though. Like, what is the next step for you?
If I'm running it,
you're running Sony.
They listen to me. They blind shadow drop this one day with the tandem with Digital Foundry. People are caught off guard that there's any PlayStation 5 news, so they're excited for it. They didn't have a chance to get hyped for no reason.
For the next event, or for you're talking about for the one?
I'm talking about where we are right now. I'm telling you, they did everything I wanted them to do.
Oh, okay.
And so now, how do we reveal it and do the real PlayStation 5 event? I mean, I feel you got to. God, they are in such a weird place with PlayStation, dude. Because like my first gut reaction is to Nintendo Direct it, and I don't mean VO over nothing. I mean like the old Reggie ones where he's there, right? But who's your personable face of PlayStation right now?
I mean,
Jim Ryan. Like, I mean, like, and no offense to Jim, but like Jim Ryan's not Jack Tretton. Jack Tretton, like, was like cool that he was like that. Sean's gone. Sean Layden's gone. I guess Herman.
Yeah, I was gonna say
like Herman's just Worldwide Studios, right? He's not overall.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a tag team maybe of like, I guess Jim, Herman Holston. I know Shuhei's just doing indie games now, but like Shuhei also, like he's a known figure from PlayStation.
Yeah. But I honestly feel like based on everything we just said, it'll just be a state of play. It'll be that kind of thing where they'll double down on, hey, this is what it is. And you'll have people segments, right? You'll still have, I guess Cerny, right? Actually, no. Shu unboxing it, like, maybe Herman unboxing it, stuff like that. Because I don't think they don't elevate the blog team like that. So it's not like I would think they'd let Sid do it in terms of like, here's the PlayStation 5. I don't think that's really Jim Ryan's bag, right? Like in terms of getting out in front of the camera and like opening it up and showing you and revealing it. Got it. They're in such a weird spot right now. They got totally fucked by all this.
They might have to make it Jim Ryan's bag. Like at this point, like since it seems like they won't have anybody else, right? It's either him or then it's Herman. But yeah, like it's kind of a weird thing for Herman to do since he's Worldwide Studios. But at this point, like if we're talking about the box, if we're talking about the actual PS5, like the box of it.
Yeah, what the console will be.
It's the console. I think it's got to be Jim Ryan.
Yeah.
Like whether he like
whether that's his bag or
not. Yeah. It's such a weird thing.
But see, I think that's the thing is I think they could still get away if they really wanted to. If like the Wired article and this were the nuts and bolts, let's be nerdy and techie about it. Mark Cerny's the face and voice for it. The next one could just be State of Play. And it could be that voice. And it could be like, gamers, you've waited. And now it's all about the PlayStation 5. And then it's like, play your games faster and this stuff. And then it is like, but we know you want to see it. And it's just like spinning and they turn on the lights or whatever. And you see it. And it's all the 3 different ports in the back, HDMI, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. Like I just don't like that disembodied voice. Like,
I don't either.
Specifically, and it's definitely a State of Play thing for me because like for Nintendo, they have disembodied voices sometimes, but they're so like friendly and fun loving that I think I kind of give it a pass.
Well, not to mention even that with the Nintendo voices, and I'm speaking not completely out of turn, but I don't have like the vast history of Nintendo Direct like Tim does. But those are again established personalities to some extent. Like you can make the argument, I guess. Sure. If you're not a Giant Bomb fan, do you know who John Vignacchi was? And he was just in the Indies event, right? But like even Kirk Scott, who was doing, who's still does it to my knowledge, the direct stuff and does the indie stuff a lot too. Like he's on enough that oh, that's Kirk. You know what I mean? Like I know that guy. You recognize him, right?
Yeah, and part of me wants to say that like, okay, we can have Mark Cerny present the box. We can have Herman present the games. We can have Shuhei come through and present like the features. Right, but who's gonna be the one to present the price and like the actual put the final stamp on it?
When I think of prices, I think of Jim Ryan.
Yeah,
when I think of cold financials, I do think of Jim.
Yeah, and so maybe that could be the lineup. Maybe that's how you come out and do it through a State of Play is to have those voices be the one, or have those like not even like don't just do voiceover for this. Like of course like have a camera and have people talking to us directly to personalize it. But I think like those 4 right there could be the ones to do it. And I know like for what Shuhei's doing right now, I guess he would be more appropriate for like in indie like section or in indie reel, but
to your point, if they're passing the baton that quickly or that often, like then it doesn't matter anymore. I mean, even if it does matter, like that would still work, right? And those would be to what you're talking about, like Jim Ryan opens it, welcomes you to whatever this thing is, and we're going to talk about the PlayStation 5 today and all this different stuff. Then, the first thing is let's check in with what the Worldwide Studios are doing. Herman comes out, he talks about all that stuff. Then, we have a lot of third-party people. Let's kick it over to... I don't have a good person for that. I would have said Geo, but no, that's long gone.
Yeah.
But then indies, I mean, boys, long gone. You could do Shu there too. I mean, even though he's going to be indies, you could have Shu do it and then have Greg Rice do indies. Like you have people around there that could do that kind of thing.
Yeah, and like Sid Schumann, like I feel there's enough people there that might not be at like that top level.
Scott Rhodey, get Scott Rhodey in there.
Okay, yeah, like there's enough people in there that I feel like you could like pass the baton all over the place and have it be so that we are seeing different faces. And
I'm with you, but again, remember too that this is just a PlayStation that is killed off, and I don't mean it sounds bad, I guess, but it like has moved away from having personality.
From personalities, yeah.
Like that's the thing. Adam Boyes, Gio, Shu, like first off, two of those people aren't there, but in general, even before they left or anything, they were moved behind the scenes. Like those days of them having the Gamescom presentation open with Shuhei walking into stage and sitting in a big chair and playing Little Big Planet. Like that's gone. That sucks. I loved that. I think that would work really well. I think it's one of the reasons it's so easy to cheer for Xbox now is the fact that Phil Spencer is out there, right? He's beating the pavement. He's talking about what he's working on and how he wants to win this and make things great for gamers again.
Yeah, I'm so curious on how they pull this off. Like not even pull this off like they're not gonna pull it off, but like pull it off and isn't like I can't envision what the state of play looks like or what the stream looks like or whatever you choose. You mentioned earlier though that like state of play doesn't seem like it's big enough like brand wise. Like do you feel like
I don't know if I did I spoke
maybe not that, but like
it's not that it's not big enough, it's just that it's weird.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like again, and like this is, and I guess I'm spinning my wheels because I keep going back and forth of like I don't think PlayStation is thinking about this from a revolutionary perspective, but suddenly they have to be. They have to be. The world, you cannot do the normal reveal. Literally, you cannot have a press conference. You cannot have all these people gather. Even if it was like, you just want it to be press, that's great. But like, are we going to be free to travel by then when you want to reveal this? Even if it, I'd predicted I was trying to say Judges Week. Is Judges Week happening? Like, are people going to be down to travel? And like, even if all the bans are lifted and we're all free to go about our lives, do people feel comfortable flying again? Like, there's so many fucking parts to this.
Yeah.
But you still have to get people there to play it. You still have to get the controller in their hands, especially if you're talking and selling this thing on, 3D audio, and there's going to be different profiles. So you put it on and it feels, amazing or whatever. And like, one of the things I want to call out of like why I think it's so hard to get excited for this thing in the PlayStation, because if you missed it, Sony talked for the 3D audio a long time, showed the Sid Schumann in the thing and how they like map your ears and do all this. He wants photos of ears sent to him or some shit. In the blog post here, they talked about like, we're doing this and how we want it to work on. Hold on, Control F. Why can't I find it now that I need it? Oh, here we go. With 3D audio on the PS5, the sounds you hear while playing will offer a greater sense of presence and locality. You'll be able to hear raindrops hitting different surfaces all around you, and you can hear and precisely locate where an enemy is lurking behind you. When I went and saw infamous Second Son for the first time at Sucker Punch, I got dragged. I was going to say, that sounds horrible. During the demo and the tour, we went into the audio engineering room where they showed us literally that. Where they literally took us around the map and made it rain in Seattle. And you got to hear what it sounded like on leaves, what it sounded like on the canvas umbrella, what it sounded like on just pavement. And it was cool, but that was nearly a decade ago. And I guess not that much, but that was a while ago, right? So like, you come out and already hang your hat on that. I'm like, I've seen you guys do that before. And I'm sure it's going to be great. I'm sure the audio is going to be fantastic. But like, okay, like you've done that.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like they just did a bad job of painting it because I feel like I kind of got what they were saying, even though this has been a thing where it's like that's something that's been evolving since like the PS3, right? I remember playing the PS3 and playing Call of Duty and being like, wow, this sounds amazing. Like I can tell where people are at, and it's been a thing already, but I feel like they're not doing a good job, and this comes back to like you got to show us more than you're telling us, because like I feel like if they really illustrated it, maybe they could drive that home more, because this does sound like I played Hellblade, and Hellblade is another game where it's like they do such a good job with the binaural audio that I would not be able to, as a viewer like watching this video, like tell you like why that's not the thing that they just described in this thing.
And that's the problem, of course, with trying to hang your hat on something that you have to hear to believe.
Yeah,
like you can talk about it, you can even show it on the thing, but until I'm sitting here with surround sound headphones on, and I'm like, oh yeah, not to mention like it's talking about the headphones, right? And then saying it's gonna, come to the sound bars and stuff later. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna get excited for this thing because it sounds like some of the other features you're not going to use if people aren't going to use. I'm sure the sound's going to be great, but I think now of like all the games I've been playing in recently, and I'm not like, man, sucks that I can't tell where people are because I can't hear. I'm like, I know where they are. They're over there somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know. Like I know exactly what you're talking about.
By the time I get it, I'll be like, oh, this is great. But right now, it's like that's just a weird thing to try to get hyped for.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Blessings taking a drink.
Yeah. Sorry, I had that dry mouth.
I thought you were going to transition out. So but then you were drinking. So then I was like, oh no, it's silent. So then I had to fill for it.
I didn't know.
I just said what I saw.
All right. Are you ready for story number 2?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So Ghost of Tsushima has a date, but are we excited about it? That's what I want to know. And so Ghost of Tsushima's date is coming to PS4 on June 26th. Andrew Gofar had a great write-up. Friend of the show.
It's true.
I presume, right? He is a friend of the show.
Yeah, he's still a friend.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure I don't know if like. Anyway, he writes up on the PS blog. Today, we revealed a brand new trailer that showcases our hero, Jin Sakai. In the past, we've shown the world around Jin, but this time we wanted to give you a taste of the people he meets along his journey and the scale of the threat that forces him to transform into a new kind of warrior. But you'll catch glimpses of several of Jin's allies and enemies. In today's trailer, there are 2 we want to focus on in particular. The first is Jin's uncle, Shimura, the Jito, which means Lord, of Tsushima, and a father figure to Jin. He's trained Jin since childhood in the traditional ways of the samurai and grows increasingly concerned by the tactics Jin starts to adopt as he abandons his teachings and becomes the ghost. The second important character we're highlighting today is Khotun Khan. The Khan is the leader of the invading Mongol army and a ruthless, cunning enemy who uses everything he knows about the samurai to try and destroy them. He's a brutal, unrelenting adversary that Jin quickly learns not to underestimate. Greg, you weren't here during our live reaction to Ghost of Tsushima.
This is how long it's been since we recorded an episode of PS I Love You.
No, we've not talked about
and
this
everything is different.
Yeah. Did you get to watch the trailer?
I did.
What was your thoughts on it?
I'm offended, Blessing, that you ask, are we excited for it? Are you not excited for Ghost of Tsushima?
I'm excited for Ghost of Tsushima, but I feel like I'm not as excited as I should be for Ghost of Tsushima. Given that it's a big first-party Sony exclusive that's coming from Sucker Punch.
A story developer.
Yeah, like a story developer under Sony, right, of Worldwide Studios. And I don't know if that's because now we're in the midst of The Last of Us Part 2 and PS5 details. I don't know if that's what it is, but there's something about, like, I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, cool, like, this looks fun, but I feel like in my heart, I more so feel like I'll play it when I play it. Like, I'm not necessarily, like thirsting for it. Like, I'm not
play it day one kind of thing.
Yeah, like I'm like, oh, like I mean, I still feel like I've got to play it day one.
Well,
but
yeah,
I
you're
don't
on
necessarily
PlayStation
feel like
podcast. You're gonna play it day one.
Yeah, but like I'm like I can like them announcing it June 26th to me is like they could announce it for August and I don't know if I would have felt different. I would have been like, okay.
I want to counter your question with a question then, and not even the question that you started of are we excited for it?
Yeah.
Did you have more hype for Horizon this many months removed from Horizon launching?
I'm gonna say yes.
Really?
Okay. I was very excited for Horizon. No.
Okay.
Which Days Gone is probably a good analogy, but I also feel like Days Gone. I was more worried about Days Gone going into it than I am worried about Ghost of Tsushima. Like so far from all the gameplay we've seen, all the trailers we've seen for Ghost of Tsushima, I'm like, this looks like a very good game. Yeah. And Days Gone, I was a bit already worried about by the time we were approaching that game. Horizon, I would probably say is comparable to how I felt at that, like at this moment leading up to Ghost of Tsushima, where I remember watching gameplay and watching the trailers for Horizon Zero Dawn and being very excited for it and being like, oh snap, like this is gonna be huge, like this is gonna be big.
Sure.
And Ghost of Tsushima, every time I see a trailer for it, I get those same feels, but I feel like this is circumstantial. There's no way they could have done this. I'm not a game developer. I don't work at Sony, right? Like I feel like they probably should have put this game out before Last of Us Part 2. Maybe that's what it is. Like I feel like there's so much in the way of Ghost of Tsushima as far as Sony's output right now that is making me less excited for it, but still excited for it.
In some ways, I think that helps it, honestly. Where I think it does that, it's not the last great hope or whatever of the PlayStation 4. The fact that it's just it looks like a solid game. It looks like it'll be a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. I think for me, both Horizon and Days Gone, even though I didn't end up with the end product being in love with it, like both of those were games where I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, I like Guerrilla. I like Bend. I don't know. And then when we did those preview events where they were just like, play it for 2 hours, play it for 4 hours, whatever it was. And I came back from both those preview events like, holy shit, these are games, man. I can't wait to play it. I feel like that's what Ghost is, where I know that I love Sucker Punch. I obviously adored the Infamous series, but I didn't love Second. I mean, I liked Second Son. I didn't love Second Son. I didn't live up to Infamous 1 or 2 for that matter. I think giving them a new setting, having them do something dramatically different, having them tell this narrative story, have it be this, I don't want to say era of Japan that doesn't get put in games a lot. It does, but not like this. You know what I mean? Not like this, where it's like it's not like a Dynasty Warriors, or it's not like
it's not like a Souls game, like a Sekiro.
Yeah. Where it's like, hey, we're giving you, this kind of combat with this kind of narrative, with this kind of third person open world structure. Like that is enough on paper that I'm like, oh, cool. Can't wait to play this. I'm with you that I'm not like at this moment, like, fuck, where is Ghost of Tsushima? You know what I mean? But in the same breath, and this is going to sound crazy, I don't feel that way about Last of Us Part 2. Both those games I want and I want to play, but I'm not like jonesing for them in the way that I can't. Oh my God, is it here yet? Where is it? When we're, the week or two before Last of Us, I'll be that way. I'm sure when we're a week or two before this, I'll be that way. But for them to fly under the radar right now works to their advantage because you hope they catch people off guard. Like, I do think that in the grand pantheon of Sony first parties, Sucker Punch doesn't get the respect it deserves and doesn't have the wide fan base it deserves as well. You know what I mean? For people who made Sly Cooper, who made Infamous, you hope that this is one that comes out, catches people off guard. They get super connected. They like Jin. They want to, know more about his story. They want to see all these things. They want to see this beautiful game and have them play a samurai movie. That'd be awesome. I hope that's how it comes together. I hope that's what pulls it off. But I think excitement levels, while not, I can't wait. Like, I think they're where they should be, where people know it. They think it looks cool. They're just not like, oh man, I'd kill somebody for this game.
Do you feel like we should have had hands-on by now? Because as far as I know, nobody in the press has played this game, right?
Yeah, last I know, that's all. I mean, I think we would have been there already, and I haven't seen. I do. I'm shocked you haven't, but I think it goes to PlayStation being PlayStation about this now, right? Where what it was, their last E3 is the last time I saw behind closed doors presentation of it. And so now there's no PSX, there is no E3 for them. There's really no good spot to go put in a long form demo. So I think what it'll be is, I think when you look at how they did and have done demos and previews for their games, right? Look at God of War, Spider-Man, God of War, Horizon, Days Gone.
I mean, The Last of Us.
Yeah, The Last of Us, right? Where it is, cool, come to this place and play it for hours. Just play it straight through for as many hours as you can or whatever we tell you to do, and then go home and talk about it. Like, I think that's what they're waiting for here. But to your point, even before the world went to hell, it was a jam-packed schedule of avoiding The Last of Us, getting it here, doing this thing. What about E3? What about the PlayStation 5 announcement? What about X, Y, and Z? Like, the big question I have for you, Blessing, because you're crazy not to be excited for it, but I understand not being super excited. The bigger question is, do you think they hit it June 26th?
Here, it's. I mean, with the current state of the world, everything's up in the air, right?
Exactly.
But like, leaving that out of it, Ghost of Tsushima should be like far along at this point. Like, I feel like they should have been approaching like finishing it soon, given that it was pushed forward because Last of Us was pushed forward. This game was supposed to come out, I imagine, probably like springish. I can't remember if they said spring outright, but I would imagine
they never did. The first time they popped up was this.
Was summer and then this.
Yeah.
But I imagine Last of Us being pushed from February into spring probably pushed Ghost of Tsushima from spring into summer.
They were trying to avoid it. They were trying to avoid doubling it.
And so, given that, I imagine they're probably way further along in this game than I imagine they're ahead of schedule. But now,
how much do you lose? Yeah.
Like how much do you lose out given the current state of the world and given like I imagine they're working from home at this point? Like, do they have the infrastructure for that?
That's what I'm looking around right now. I'm going through the team that I know and seeing if any of them have posted about working from home.
They're in Seattle, so I imagine they probably are, but I don't know how Seattle is compared to SF at this point with people staying at home.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody's starting to move that. PlayStation is at the, hey, let's protect our people. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, that's the thing is like, I think, there's going to be a lot of games getting delayed. And I don't think it's going to be drastic, but it is that idea that even if you can go home and work from home, internet speeds, uploading, downloading packages, people doing meetings, but they take more time than usual. We're running into that too of like, you'd think working from home would make it easier to play more games or get more done. And it's the opposite where I'm getting less done and it's taking me more time to do things. Like that's all well and good for us making clowny ass podcasts on YouTube. Yeah. But what about, when you're trying to make a multi-million-dollar video game and you've a timeline and a production set up the way you thought it was going to go?
Yeah. Do you want to move on to the next story?
Blessing? You run X's and O's. You move on if you want to move on.
I'm going to move on. Number 3, is Horizon Zero Dawn coming to PC the start of something new for Sony? Herman Hulst had a whole interview with the PlayStation blogcast where he confirmed, quote, yes, I can confirm Horizon Zero Dawn is coming to PC this summer. He then went on to later on say, or not later on, but during the interview say, I think it's important that we stay open to new ideas of how we introduce more people to PlayStation and show people maybe what they've been missing out on, and to maybe put a few minds at ease. Releasing one first-party AAA title to PC doesn't necessarily mean that every game now will come to PC. In my mind, Horizon Zero Dawn was just a great fit in this particular instance. We don't have plans for day-and-date PC releases, and we remain 100% committed to dedicated hardware. Greg.
Yes.
We've talked about this before when it was in the rumor stage.
When it was just rumored, we talked about it on PS I Love You. Now it's finally confirmed.
Yes. Now it's confirmed. Now it's confirmed for the summer. Given Herman Hulst's quote here, do we think this is going to be now a trend for PlayStation bringing over PlayStation games on a PC?
No. But I'm also talking about what I think 2020 PlayStation 4 PlayStation looks like. If PlayStation 5 comes out and Xbox jumps ahead and PlayStation has to get radical, they'll get radical. For me personally, I stand by everything I was saying in the lead up to this, right? That this is because I think, knock on glass, that PlayStation 5 will launch with Horizon Zero 2 Dawn, whatever, being the fucking big game, the sequel. And I think that will be awesome. But again, even though it sold so well and did so well and has this audience now, I think there's plenty of people in the PC landscape or Xbox landscape who didn't play it. And to them, it is still a brand new IP. And so if you can put this back out, have it souped up and running in 4K and be able to say, when you do announce the PlayStation 5 and you do announce this, hey, you've been playing Horizon on your PCs. This is how it's going to run on your PS4 at home or your PS5, I'm sorry, at home. I think that's a salient point. I think getting Horizon back in the news, getting it re-reviewed, having it run down the GameSpot and IGN blog rolls again, having people have it on the tip of their tongue, the front of their mind, that when the Gorilla logo fucking comes up during the PS5 thing, people go nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to see. Like, I like the fact that they're putting Horizon Zero Dawn on a PC. Like, I've seen quite a few back and forths about this because for some reason people are upset,
so
mad that Horizon is coming to PC. But it's a good strategy for PlayStation, right? And the idea that if they have to get radical, they'll get radical and start putting it on PC, which will bring more people into the PlayStation ecosystem. But then also like more games for more people, right? Like more people are gonna be able to play a fantastic game. And so with that in mind, I think this is awesome. This is cool.
I'm assuming you saw the tweet that was making its way around.
Which one?
When people were flipping out about it. So they announced it, they were like, here it is. And then this one guy like made a video of him like freaking out and destroying his PlayStation or whatever, destroying his room. And then
I did see that one, yeah.
Sam Sharma, who used to work at Gorilla and I follow from those days, he's not, where is he now? Actually, hold on, I don't know. But his tweet was, "What the hell is wrong?" He quote tweeted the video. "What the hell is wrong with you people? We made a game. You enjoyed it. Now some more people get to enjoy it. And something that takes and somehow that takes away your enjoyment. Please be kind to yourselves. Your enjoyment of the game has not diminished because some more people get to play it." And I was like, fuck yeah, Sam. And it's that thing of like, I think if you were still working at Gorilla and still working at PlayStation, you want to get to, but he has it listed here that he's a game producer, unannounced, it looks like he's at EA.com in there at Montreal. So fuck yeah, Sam. Like, you know what I mean? I wish more developers would not I'm not saying it needs to be like dog pile call out culture, but like when you see something this crazy, like this guy smashing up his house or whatever because he's mad, and it says it like ruined his birthday because they announced that. And I saw even Herman tweeted the other day about getting ready for this PlayStation 5 event. He retweeted it, and so many people are like, "Oh, you come out of your hole, huh? Blah blah blah." If you're selling us out to people, like, shut up.
It's such a funny thing because I don't understand the logic. I don't know. I don't understand the leap to being upset that a game is coming to PC.
It's so simple,
it's
right?
Such a weird
console wars are dumb, of course, right? Having this kind of blind allegiance is dumb. But when it comes down to it, if you're a PlayStation fanboy, you can only hate Xbox fanboys. PC people, they don't matter to us, all right? They're over there, they have their fucking 8Ks, and they're doing this, and they got to install their .exe. Just don't even worry about them. They get something fine. You make sure Phil Spencer doesn't get it. That's the man you don't let get it, or vice versa.
Number 4, Greg.
Thank you, Buzz.
What does the leadership shakeup mean for Sony Santa Monica? This comes from Matt Kim at IGN because Shannon Studstill, who was at Sony Santa Monica, leapt over to Google Stadia as Google Stadia opened up a new studio. And when asked about it, Sony Santa Monica gave a statement to IGN, which reads as follows, quote, "We extend our warmest congratulations to Shannon Studstill on her new role. Under her leadership, the studio she helped found over 20 years ago massively reinvented itself and its greatest franchise with 2018's Game of the Year, God of War. In her role as a VP of product development, Shannon helped smaller independent teams incubate within the studio, leading to groundbreaking works like Journey and The Unfinished Swan. All PlayStation is better for and grateful for her many years of exemplary service and bold creative vision. Taking over as a studio head is Yumi Yang, a 19-year PlayStation veteran with an extensive background in product development and heavy involvement across many of Santa Monica Studios' biggest games. Her project management prowess and meticulous oversight of 2018's God of War helped the title fully realize its groundbreaking potential. After nearly 2 decades and countless substantial contributions to Sony Santa Monica's studio's rich legacy, Yumi has the unquestioned respect and trust of her peers. With her vast experience and deep understanding of the studio's distinct creative DNA, she is perfectly positioned to lead Santa Monica Studio to a bold and exciting future. Greg, you know way more about Yumi Yang and Shannon Studstill than I do. What does all this mean? Please translate.
I'm so happy that you put this in there. Of course, last week was the PlayStation Under Radies, which we had pre-recorded because of the trip to Canada I was taking. And so it feels like it's been 2 decades since we did this show. And when I looked at my phone and saw this, I was flabbergasted. It was the Nutter Butter Oreo thing all over again, where Shannon is like the person at Sony Santa Monica. And I know that obviously right now, Corey Barlog, right? He's flavor of the month. Everybody's over there. And obviously he's had a long career there too. And like you have people like Jaffe, you have people like Corey, you have these people who come out and do it, but like behind the scenes, like Shannon has always been this driving force there, making Sony Santa Monica. And every time, I would go to Sony Santa Monica and get a demo and at a giant press event, Shannon would be the one who'd stand up in front and tell you all about it and talk about it and do that. Shannon has always been, and remains to be, obviously, she's a Stadia, but like when I think of people in the industry who do not bullshit, Shannon does not bullshit. Like she gives it to you straight. I'm talking in those stand-ups, she'll get up and like, it was especially like for God of War, right? Talking about like, hey, yeah, the studio, went through hard times. We had to cancel some projects. We had let a lot of people go, and this is kind of a make or break thing for us. And we think we have something special, kind of thing. And I've been lucky enough to have moments in my career covering PlayStation where she'd come over and we'd be in the middle of an interview with somebody else, and we'd stop the recorder and she'd catch up with them, and it would just be a bullshit around situation. And like she's awesome. Like Shannon Studstill is awesome, and I think in so many ways was the perfect figurehead and a leader for Sony Santa Monica. And so her leaving it, I think is super sad. Obviously, after 20 years there, you get it. And it's awesome that this goes straight back to my whole thing of like, what the fuck happened to Sean Layden? Because she leaves, right? And there's statements and there's this, and like Sean Layden leaves and there's a tweet and that's it. And we never say his name again. Shannon's had such a career there and been around for so long and done so many amazing things at that studio that I think she leaves them in a great spot. Obviously, leaving off of God of War here and so many Game of the Year awards, and having Corey still there, it's great. I think the ecosystem and backbone she's helped build for that studio will continue. But it's crazy that when I think of Sony Santa Monica, I think of walking into their office. I think of over here on the right, they have this setup that is everybody's face who works there on a wood block, like not cartoon, but like a artistic
Caricature.
interpretation of their face over there. Not even caricature, but like it's in this very distinct style over there. And I think about that and family and how she's always been the figurehead of it. And so her leaving is such a huge win for Google. You know what I mean? As we sit there and talk about like, what the fuck is Stadia? Like, what are they going to do? How are they going to pull this together? Obviously, in the same way we saw with Xbox, you see it with Stadia, like games and exclusives and studios are part of that. It's crazy that she's going in like it'll be 3 years before we hear anything from what she's doing over there. And then you get this whole question of like, do you believe that Google's around for 3 more years?
Like how long is Stadia going to go?
But I'm sure it was, hey, here's a giant amount of Google money in the front. She's like, cool, I need to change anyway. And this team's, not as far as I could take them, but they don't need me necessarily. Mm-hmm. And it's funny you bring up Yumi Yang. Like, I honestly don't know her. Like, she's never been at the forefront of projects. I probably have met her in passing and just don't recall it like to that extent. For me, she became a front-facing person with the God of War documentary, right? Raising Kratos.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
because in that, like, Corey is so honest that this game wouldn't have happened without her. And I of course give Corey an unending amount of shit because he's an amazing dude, good friend, and I know his personality type and I know how he is. I know he needs someone to wrangle him, and so if that's what she could do on that one project, if that's what she could do with somebody who is as visionary as Corey is, I think it's awesome to see what she'll do with that entire studio, what she'll do with the other teams, what she'll do with the other people. But this is the other thing that I think isn't headline worthy, right? You don't see it when we talk about news and video games and stuff. I think obviously one of the big things you talk about all the time is crunch and the bad things and the drama and the bad breakups. This is Shannon Stutzler was there over 20 years. Yumi Yang is being promoted after 19 years at PlayStation. Scott Rhodey started as a tester and is still there. Corey's has come and gone multiple times. Like Connie Booth gets this Lifetime Achievement Award. You know what I mean? Like there is this structure there at PlayStation behind the scenes with Rhodey and Shu and Shannon and Yumi again, like of people that have been there so long. And I think it's so easy to sit there and talk about what studios are doing and what they could do differently and better, but like one of the things that makes PlayStation special is this backbone, is these people that have been there forever and get it and are a family and have worked together for so long that they can finish each other's thoughts and do these projects and know each other's strengths and weaknesses. Like that's crazy that like you still have that at PlayStation in 2020 where we're talking about people who launched the fucking console.
Yeah. No, that's all like real cool stuff and stuff that I wouldn't have been aware about. Like I was aware of Yumi Yang from that same God of War documentary, but that was about the extent of it. And so congratulations to all. It all seems really cool.
Totally.
Number 5. Is an HBO series the right way to adapt The Last of Us? That's how long it's been since we've recorded an actual episode of PS5.
But even that, like that sounds like it's been 3 years because of time killing us slowly every day.
Like there's so much going on every single day that this feels like it was forever ago. But an HBO Last of Us series is happening. This is reported by Borys Kidd and Patrick Shanley at Hollywood Reporter. Craig Mazin, the creator of the acclaimed limited series Chernobyl, is reteaming with HBO to adapt The Last of Us. In a rare development in the world of video game adaptations, the writer and creative director of the game, Neil Druckmann, is also involved and will work with Mazin to pen and executive produce what is intended to be a series. Carolyn Strauss will also executive produce along with Evan Wells, the president of Naughty Dog. The project is a co-production with Sony Pictures Television and in association with PlayStation Productions, and it will be the first television series from PlayStation Productions. The HBO series will cover the events of the original game, which was written by Druckmann, with the possibility of additional content based on the forthcoming game sequel, The Last of Us Part 2, which will release on May 29th, 2020. Quote, "This is the first of many shows we intend to develop with our friends at PlayStation Productions," said Chris Parnell, co-president of Sony Pictures Television Studios. The Last of Us is a brilliant achievement in storytelling and character development, and we are lucky to have the opportunity to work with this team to adapt it. Greg,
yeah,
is an HBO series the right way to adapt The Last of Us?
Yes. I think it is, in the way that HBO has been on a roll lately with just amazing content, right? Did you watch the Westworld premiere for season 3?
No, I've not watched
Holy
Westworld
shit.
since after season 1.
Dude, well, you can season 2 actually is a slog, but like this
that's
opening
why
is great, right? Outsider was great. The list goes on with things that are amazing over there. Mm-hmm. And so I think Chernobyl, one of my favorite HBO things in a while, to have that writer on, and I know obviously he wrote the Hangover thing and the Hangover movies too, and everybody wants to shit on him for that. But Chernobyl's fucking rad, and Hangover 1 was great.
I was gonna say Hangover 1 was awesome.
Yeah, hell yeah, but more than anything, it's Neil. It's Neil being involved in working with him and penning it with him, right? And talking with him. Like, the problem right from the beginning with that Uncharted movie has been, like, Naughty Dog doesn't really know Naughty Dog said, like, it's just their thing. We're not really a part of it. And even when the Last of Us movie stuff was happening, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't like a full-blown partnership. It was that they're trying to do it and they're talking with Druckmann. They're working with Druckmann, whatever. They're getting him to consult or whatever. To have Neil on this, right? Like, to have him actually be involved with this, working with him, and like the way they're going back and forth on Twitter, the way they seem proud of this. You know what I mean? There's a reason I think Naughty Dog never talks about the Uncharted movie. It's because they don't believe it's going to happen as much as we don't believe it's going to happen.
Yeah.
The fact that they're involved with it, that's awesome. And I think that, again, it's on HBO. It'll let them set it up to be as long as they want it to be. Because I don't think that the right way to tell Joel and Ellie's story is in a movie theater and trying to boil that down into 2 hours. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not what it's about, right? The reason, and no spoilers, but the reason like the payoff to the outsider is so great is because not only have we lived with these characters for 10 episodes, we saw them evolve and change. We saw their relationships grow, strengthen, weaken in some regards. To do that and actually get like Joel and Ellie's story actually progressing, actually see them grow together or apart with it, and however they take it and whatever they do with it, have Neil that closely involved. Fuck yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Was it somebody from Naughty Dog that tweeted out a while ago that like they were not approached about this? Like, not this, but like during I think it was either the Uncharted movie or the Last of Us movie. I think there was like somebody prominent. I don't know if it was Neil or Bruce Straley or somebody that was like, I think like the movie director was like, oh yeah, we're doing this movie, and then it was quote tweeted by somebody at Naughty Dog. I was like, oh yeah, they didn't talk to us about this.
I vaguely remember something like that. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like 70% sure it was Naughty Dog, but I'm not positive. But yeah, like this seems awesome from the perspective of, yes, they are involved, and then yes, I also trust HBO and Craig Mazin to put this thing together because HBO has quality shows over there. My follow-up question to you though is, do you feel like a Last of Us adaptation is necessary at all? Like outside of it just being HBO, like, is this something we want in general?
I mean, I always feel that like games are games and they're great because they're games, and that's why I love them. And so I don't think I can sit here and disqualify stuff like that in terms of should games become shows or movies. I don't think they're needed necessarily, but that's because I enjoy formats. I enjoy video games, and you know what? My mom doesn't, and I love comic books, but clearly there are far more people who like the Walking Dead show than the comic. They never were going to go do that. And so bringing our successes and our greatest works to a wider audience, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think I don't sit here and clamor for it and say it needs to happen, but I don't want to gatekeep it either, if that makes sense. Like, I think that, Naughty Dog and Last of Us in particular, right, Naughty Dog are masters of their craft. And The Last of Us is on another level. And I think in a world that is still obsessed with post-apocalyptic stuff and zombie stuff, like, that is awesome. And I'd like to see people go do that. And maybe that brings in more people to play games. But in the same way, I think, it goes both ways of, people watching the Game of Thrones show, right? They then went and got the Game of Thrones books. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And that's great. You know what I mean? Like, why not have that crossover?
Yeah, in the sense that, like, The Last of Us, the game, I've never really felt the need to see it on the big screen. But the ways in which they've talked about it, and it being, like I said, it being HBO and all this stuff, right? Like, I'm down for it. I'm excited for it. I actually can't wait to watch it. Even if, like, at first, if you just told me they were making a live action Last of Us, I probably would have been like, I'm good.
I don't need that. Thank you.
Yeah, this is actually exciting to me. Number 6, and lastly on the X's and O's.
Wow.
What is PlayStation
what an
up
X's and
to?
O's.
What an X's and O's. I tweeted before that it was going to be a 3-hour episode.
It will not be. All right.
It will not be.
I told you we wouldn't do that. I know you're still a young pup out there getting your sea legs.
Oh yeah,
Plus, I got a lot of work to do.
Number 6. What is PlayStation up to with Konami? This comes from Sammy Barker at Push Square. Enthusiast forums and social media are ablaze with speculation that Sony is looking to acquire the Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill, and Castlevania brands from Konami in an epic IP raid. The rumor is piggybacking off recent speculation that Sony is developing and funding various new Silent Hill titles, although those reports much more realistically claimed that the Japanese giant was merely licensing the rights to the survival horror series. The source is a 4chan post, so it's already on uncertain ground, although website Jack of All Controllers claims to have had the story verified by its unknown sources. Make of that what you will. So we got some rumors, Greg.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on what PlayStation might be up to with Konami?
That's what I mean. Like, it's like, yeah. I want to believe that the PlayStation 5, with whatever reveal it is somebody walks on stage, they're talking like, we picked up new IP, we got a new IP, guys, too. Silent Hill. And everybody's like, oh my God, that's awesome. Yeah, we got this from Konami. And then they're like, you know what? We have another one too. Silent Hills. Everybody's like, what the fuck? And they're like, got another Metal Gear. I'm like, oh my God. Like, yeah, that would be incredible, but it's too good. It's too good to be true.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess Spider-Man was too good to be true. Like, anything can happen, but I'm not going to sit here and get hyped for that until I know it's happening.
Yeah, like, I don't even feel like Spider-Man was too good to be true, because that is like involved with Sony already. Like, Spider-Man in terms of like Sony Pictures, like they already had that relationship. But yeah, in terms of this, all of it sounds way too good to be true. The idea that they would acquire the IP from Konami, I feel like doesn't make sense. That said, like, the Silent Hill stuff is the stuff that I'm willing to buy. Like, them partnering with Konami in order to put out Silent Hills exclusively on PlayStation.
Sure.
I'm willing to buy. I'm not sold on it, but that's something where I'm like, that's one, it is too good to be true, but it's not too good to be true the way that when you like add in Metal Gear and Castlevania and stuff. Like, I think
it ramps up, right? As it ramps up that they're going to take the...
Yeah. Like, opening the door to, like, or Silent Hill opening the door to Metal Gear and Castlevania and those partnerships to happen, I could see, but I think that is like far out. Like, that is the Silent Hills thing needs to be real, and then like I can start speculating about what other IP they might be partnering with.
Yeah,
that brings us to the end of the X's and O's.
You're right. It is the end of the X's and O's. So now that we're already, an hour and a half into this show, why don't we hear from our sponsors? As most of us have found out the hard way, getting into debt is easy, getting out is hard, especially if your credit score isn't great. Thankfully, now there's Upstart.com, the revolutionary lending platform that knows you're more than just a credit score and offers smarter interest rates to help you pay off high-interest credit card debt. It's a tired story, but you know it's true. When I moved to SF, ladies and gentlemen, I took out a loan, and guess what? My interest rate sucked. Upstart would have really helped, because Upstart goes beyond the traditional credit score when assessing your credit worthiness. They actually reward you based on your education and job history in the form of a smarter interest rate. Upstart believes you're more than just a credit score. They believe in you. They make it fast, simple, and easy to check your rate. And since it's a soft pull, it won't affect your credit score. The hard pull happens after you accept your rate. The best part, once the loan is approved and accepted, most people get their funds the very next business day. Over 400,000 people have used Upstart to pay off credit cards or meet their financial goals. Free yourself from the burden of high-interest credit card debt by consolidating everything into one monthly payment with Upstart. See why Upstart is top ranked in their category with 4.9 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot, and hurry to upstart.com/PS to find out how low your Upstart rate is. Checking your rate takes only a few minutes. That's upstart.com/PS. All right, Bless. It's the most wonderful time of the show. What you been playing? So now you already said a few things because you're trapped in your bedroom and all you got is a PlayStation there to support you.
Yes.
What have you been playing?
So I've been playing a lot of Beat Saber, actually. Ooh, yeah. I've been finding a good opportunity in that game to stay active and get the blood going, get the blood pumping.
Yep, that's what they do.
Yeah, and that game continues to be amazing. Like, one
Beat
of the
Saber is fantastic.
Like, it might right now be like the best VR game like in the market right now. Like for me, it's between that and Astrobot Rescue. Like those are like the two, like my top two for VR games, PSVR games specifically. And yeah, like I'm playing the mess out of that. Been getting songs done on Expert. Been having a good old time.
Damn, you're good enough to get on Expert, huh?
Depends on the song, because some songs, like some of the DLC songs that they've added, they are harder. Like even on the regular difficulties, they are more difficult than the earlier songs. And so some songs on Expert, it's like there's no way, like you're going at 1,000,000 miles per hour.
Totally.
But like a lot of the original songs that are on there, are doable. Like the song Legend, like I Am a Living Legend, right? I can get that on Expert. Angel Voices I've been doing on Expert lately. There's the Crab Rave song that I've not yet completed on Expert, because that one is one of the difficult ones.
Okay.
But like I can get like halfway through.
Okay.
I'm trying to get
when I was doing it daily for a while, I was good on hard, but then even then it would be like I was just like running the same songs trying to get better and better and better. And like, but even Expert was always just too intimidating when I'd get in there. I just couldn't make it work.
Dude, once you get to Expert, that's when things start. That's why when you start entering the Matrix, and it is like a dance. It's honestly amazing, because it goes from like trying to break the boxes to now like trying to figure out like what is the dance that this game wants me to do, and then just getting into the flow of it. So I absolutely have been loving like pushing myself to go Expert. But I've been doing a lot of that. I started playing
workout from it.
I am like not an amazing workout.
Yeah. But movement of some kind.
Yeah, movement of some kind. And then like this morning I played before I took a shower, and then I followed it up with push-ups, right? To like try and like really get the blood going and kind of complete the workout. Like it's a good one, it's a good warm-up, but then also if you just want to like sweat or whatever, like it's a good one of those. But it's definitely like it's not like a good sole thing to only do just for your whole workout. Like I feel like you gotta mix some stuff in there to make it really worth it. But it's good to have involved there for sure.
Okay. What else you got?
So Dying Light, I started playing that, and I got about 5 hours into it, and I don't know if I'm feeling it. Like I don't know if Dying Light is.
This is your first time playing it?
I played like the first hour of it at a friend's house forever, like when it first came out, and I was like, okay, I might play this eventually because I like zombie games and I like parkour. Like I like Mirror's Edge, so I figured that hopefully that will translate. And I started playing it again a few weeks ago. I got past where I was when I originally started playing it at a friend's place, and I've been playing more and more and more. And it's just been one of those things where I don't know if it's like a time and place thing of maybe I wasn't there when it came out, and so I missed kind of the magic of it. But going back and playing it, and I know it originally came out in like 2015, I'm gonna say.
Oof, yeah.
2014, I'm gonna say 2015, early 2015, probably. I was gonna say kindoffunny.com you're wrong, but this is
I'm on it. Don't worry, I got the time. I'm looking.
Yeah. But I just find that it feels clunky. 2015. I just find that it feels clunky in the open world. Like the open world doesn't feel, for the parkour mechanics. One, the parkour mechanics don't feel as deep as I feel like was advertised in the game. And I feel like the world itself isn't necessarily built for fun, creative parkour in a way that, like, I'm not going to say Mirror's Edge Catalyst, because Mirror's Edge Catalyst world had some issues with how it was built also, but the first Mirror's Edge, right? Linear game, different thing, but I felt more comfortable in that world with the parkour mechanics, like in terms of the ways in which the game led me, and the ways in which like I felt free in the free running. And then in this game, like, it feels like I'm just mantling a bunch. I don't really feel like I'm free running. Like I do have the move where you can like leap off of the zombies, you know, which is a fun move. But
yeah,
at the same time, like I feel like I'm being stopped all the time by the zombies, which it's a zombie open world, so of course that's gonna happen. But then yeah, like I kind of wish that there was a more diverse array of obstacles and maybe parkour objects, stuff that I could leap off of. Like from where I'm at in the game now, I'm like, in terms of parkour and free running, Mirror's Edge, I think is still kind of undefeated in its first person free running mechanics. Gotcha. So that there's that. The story seemed very boring to me. The performances didn't seem that great, and I know the reason like Dying Light game.
The Dying Light took off the way it did is because it was the first, and I don't think it was like a to really understand this new world order that people want new games in January. They want them in the first half of the year. And that was I remember that year, that was such a breakout hit because you came back to work, you came back to video games after Christmas, and it was everything's game of the year has been given away, and there's this game out that seems cool, and we all jumped in and we're like, holy shit, like I never beat it, but I had a great time playing it. I played a bunch of it.
Yeah, and that might also be part of it for me too, where like I started playing this game as a break from Bloodborne, because Bloodborne is the game that stresses me out the most, and so I was like, I need like a laid back fun experience. I'm gonna play Dying Light, the game with zombies that turn into even scarier zombies.
At night they get worse.
Yeah. And so like I took a break for it. I took a break from Bloodborne to play it, and like while playing it, I was like, I could just go back to Bloodborne. Like I didn't necessarily feel compelled to progress. Like the story wasn't fascinating me. The gameplay loop wasn't necessarily my jam, and so that's kind of where I left it. Unfortunately, and I know it's sad because like a lot of people, when I said I was playing Dying Light, a lot of people were like, okay, yeah, no, this game is great. Like you're gonna love Dying Light, and sadly, I just couldn't. I couldn't get into it. But it happens.
Well, bless. While you're playing old shit, I'm playing new shit. All right, I'm playing
really?
the Division 2 Warlords. And when I say playing it, I mean I finished it off, and now I'm just addicted to the season pass stuff. Division 2, what a fucking game, blessing. I forget about how good this game is, and the fact that it was my most played game of 2019 in terms of hours on my PlayStation. And I have a feeling it has a chance of doing that again this year. Because, dude, like Warlords itself is awesome. You go to New York, you get a bunch of new missions, but they introduced this whole new manhunt mechanic where you're going there and you're going after this guy, Aaron Keener, who's like, trying to basically bring back the biological weapon again. And to get to him, you have to take out 4 of his not henchmen, but like, I guess like, what do you call it? Like when a mafia boss has like underlings, like his like lieutenants. You have to go after his lieutenants.
Oh, lieutenants.
And so you have to do certain missions to reveal where they are to then go fight them in like a big boss battle kind of thing as you build up to it. And it's all got story. It's all got VO. It's all awesome. But what's got me so fucking addicted is that once that's done, right, then you can go freely between DC and New York again. And there's now the season stuff. So I don't know how much I don't think I've talked about it on this show. I think I've talked about it on other stuff once I came back and previewed it. But now, right, they have a season pass like Fortnite. They have the free version and then the paid version you can get. You're unlocking you're constantly leveling. There's 100 levels to unlock. It's a 3-month long season. And now there is a same thing. There's a boss with lieutenants around it, but the lieutenants open up, every few weeks or whatever. So right now there's just one lieutenant to go after. Their unlock requirements, like to get to them and fight the bosses, are more in depth. Like there's more to do, like take down 3 control points, redo this story mission, do this other stuff. It takes longer to unlock them than it did in Warlords of New York. And when you go back to replay missions now, they've added in directives, which you can, like, you could always change your difficulty or whatever to get, better loot or better drops or whatever, more XP. I guess it wouldn't have mattered for XP before, but now you can go in there, you can change difficulty to get more XP, get better loot, but then you add these directives, which are like, it'll turn off your indicator so you don't know where the gunshots are coming from on your map anymore. It'll make it that, the people you're fighting, some of them will have specialty like, shock ammunition or fire ammunition. Like there's all these little things to change out the way you're playing the game, which make it feel so much more rewarding. Because as I'm adding them in, seeing what my reward XP will be, that'll obviously go into my battle pass, that'll keep me leveling up to get better gears. It's cosmetic stuff in terms of sometimes, but then it is like getting the next piece of a gear set that when I have the 3 items, it helps me out with headshot damage or whatever it is. That is like so my fucking jam, being added to a game that the whole reason I stopped playing the Division 2 was I felt I had nothing left to go for. Like I didn't want to just, I had hit max level, I had hit max gear score. I didn't feel like grinding for no reason. Now it is this like never ending gobstopper of XP rewards. They simplified recalibrating your weapons and taking talents off of weapons and putting them onto new things and stuff. Like it's such a joy to play. Like I love the gameplay of the Division. I'm so glad it's there. Not to mention that I had only really played, they'd done 3 episodes of DLC. I'd only done episode 1, so like I had episode 2 to do, and I still have episode 3 to do with Fran. And then there's all these classified missions around now. There's so much to do in that world that it's like, fuck yeah, I'm so glad to be back. And it's like I'm doing a bunch of stuff for review right now, and it's like that. All right, like there aren't PlayStation games though I'm reviewing, so it's like that's why I've only played Division. Animal Crossing doesn't count, and it is that thing of like, fuck, I can't wait to finish off these reviews to get into a, at least once a night going in there and doing something. But it's so much fun. So much fun.
Nice.
What about new stuff have you been playing?
Doom Eternal. I beat it for our Gamescast review, so check that out for an hour-long conversation about Doom Eternal of us diving deep in. But in short, like, that game is incredible. Like, it's one of the best games of the year. It's like it's everything that's great about the first Doom, but they definitely fine-tune, like they figured out what worked, and they were like, how do we uplift everything and make it so that this is now poetry? And so like, and are you planning to play Doom Eternal, or are you
it's the same thing. It's on my PlayStation, but when you guys were reviewing that, I was reviewing Animal Crossing, and now I have another game reviewing.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, man, they got this down to a science where it is the balance between ammo, health, and armor, and all your upgrades are contributing to one of those. Everything you do in combat is focusing on how do I get more ammo, how do I get more armor, how do I get more health. And like, you get health by being aggressive and glory killing enemies. You get ammo by chainsawing enemies. You get armor by putting enemies on fire and then collecting it that way, right? And you're balancing things at such a rapid pace because the game is so fast that we talked about on the Gamescast, right? Like, at certain points it's like looking into the Matrix and getting into the Matrix. It's awesome. It's better than the first Doom. It's, at this point, it's one of my favorite shooters of this generation. Probably my favorite first person shooter campaign of this generation. I'd say it'd be between this and, actually no, it probably is this, because like after this would be Titanfall 2 or Wolfenstein 2 New Order or Doom 2016. But
damn, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I'm glad it hung in there. I've talked about it before, but when I played it at Judge Week, they, in the beginning were like, "Hey, you're gonna die. Like, this is a game about dying. You need to be moving. You need to figure out the thing. You need to get the rhythm and the currency down, right? Of like what weapon you're using because of what you need." And I didn't play the original Doom that way, and so I had fallen off of it. And when I played this, I was like, "Fuck, this is brilliant! Like, this is so much more strategy." Almost like Hotline Miami, right? Of like, you go in and you die and you're like, fuck, I should have done this and I should have done that. I should have used this weapon on that thing.
Yeah. No, the fantastic thing is that when I went to preview it, Hugo Martin talked about combat chess and how like they wanted to make Doom a thinking man's shooter. And playing it, I kind of like, at first I was like, that's marketing speak. That's like advertising. Like, I get it. Combat chess. Yeah. Yeah, whatever. And then as I'm playing,
I see through your bullshit.
Yeah, I see through it. Right. But as I'm playing it, halfway through, I was like, I understand now what combat chess means, because every enemy feels like a chess piece. Like, it feels like they are setting up these different scenarios in a way that is like that is so smart. Like, each of the enemies has a different classification. So they have environmental enemies, they have fodder, they have heavy, and then they have super heavies. And it does feel like they are picking enemies out of the bag and be like, all right, for the first wave of this encounter, you're gonna have like all this fodder, which are just enemies that you kill to get health or resources. But then we're gonna have the I forget what it's called. There's like a flying head. That's like a heavy enemy. We're gonna have this one here, and then we're gonna have the guy with the big old demon with like the 2 arm cannons. We're gonna place that guy here, and then we're gonna place the guy with the cannon on his back. We're gonna place him here, and then we'll have a super enemy come in the second wave. And it does feel you can kind of feel the puzzle being put into place as you're solving it, and you're like, huh, okay, so I need to get this guy. I should probably get this guy before get this guy, and then I should move over here to get health over here, and then move on to this guy. Like, the way you're planning out your plan of attack as you're going into these super fast combat encounters that you had to be super aware for is really great. Like, my only complaint with it is that it gets very overwhelming at certain points in ways where I'm like, I don't know if like y'all pushed it too far, like in terms of some combat encounters. Like, it's like, oh, okay, we're gonna put 3 super heavies here, and then you're gonna, like, it feels like there's way too many enemies on screen at the same time, even if it is running well.
Is it going? So is it doing the thing where you can't even have that moment even when you fail to think about, well, fuck, I needed armor, so I should have done this?
It's more so in the moment thing of, oh wow, like I'm in between 2 enemies and a wall at this point. Okay. And I've lost all hope of even like kind of thinking this through, because it just got very overwhelming. And like most of the time it's my fault, because I guess I wasn't being mobile enough, or I wasn't like staying ahead of the curve. But then sometimes it's like, all right, maybe we should have cranked this back 1 or 2 enemies because this got really real really fast. But yeah, Doom Eternal, definitely like check it out if that's your jam. And then lastly, Persona 5 Royal. I've been playing that also. I'm only an hour in, so I don't have much to say about it other than like
it's
already
back,
an hour.
baby.
It's back, baby. Then already an hour in, I'm already seeing new content, which is really exciting. And I didn't think I'd jump back into Persona 5 because it's such a long game. But at this point, I'm like, let's see how far I can take it. Yeah,
can't
like
leave your house.
Time, I'm at home, can't leave, and then also I'm like, I guess I'll play it for as long as I until I get bored because now that I'm in it, I'm like, I'm enjoying being back in this world.
All right. Well, blessing. Believe it or not, we're not the only one playing new video games.
Whoa,
Boss Baby himself, Barrett Courtney, has been playing a bunch of stuff. He filed this report.
Boss babies, safe game zone. Boss babies, safe game zone. Boss babies, safe game zone. Boss babies. He played some games. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Boss Baby Safe Gamer Zone. Did I actually pronunciate gamer in that music intro? Who knows? Boss Baby Safe Gamer Zone is a roaming, kind of funny game segment where I, Barrett Courtney, report to you, the gamers, about video games I've been playing from the safety of my own home. BBSGZ is reporting to you on PS I Love You XOXO this week because I've been playing a bunch of games on the PlayStation 4. First up, My Hero Wants Justice 2. If you didn't know from that confusing title, it's a My Hero Academia fighting game, and for someone who enjoys fighting games and loves My Hero Academia, this game is whatever. It's that typical Shonen Jump 3D fighting game that makes for some fun gameplay moments, but also a lot of awkward feeling controls, but that might just be me preferring 2D fighting games. I imagine it would be fun for short bursts with friends, so if you have a crew that you're regularly playing fighting games with and you like My Hero, it might be fun to fuck around with, maybe not for that $60 price tag though. Also, last note, story mode, bad, very bad, avoid it at all costs. It's a retelling of the last couple of arcs from the show, but cutscenes are just screenshots from the show, and the way they set up fights in between makes no sense. Maybe I had the wrong expectation for the mode, but it is not good. The score I give it after playing for 2.5 hours, I'm going to say a 2.5 out of 5. Will I be going back to it at all? Probably not. The next game up is MLB The Show 20, which was provided to me by PlayStation, so thank you to PlayStation for sending over a code for me to check out. MLB The Show 20, what's different? Well, you can only really tell when you squint at the fine print and remember what last year's version actually had. The biggest one is custom leagues, where you can start an MLB The Show league with friends online, customize how many teams are in a league, the number of games in the postseason, how many games in a series, etc. It feels like MLB The Show's attempt at fantasy baseball in the way of keeping you and your friends engaged and very involved in a league. And if I knew more than 2 people who played this game, I would be so down to do something like this. The other major change this year is the throwing meter for when you're fielding, which I can't decide if I like or not. It doesn't feel as good as 19, but it doesn't feel bad in any sense. It might just be something I have to get used to. And last note, this is my first time I've transferred a franchise save file from a previous MLB game to a current one, and it was crazy how seamless it was. It immediately picked up my progress from last season, so I'm currently finishing up my 2019 postseason, and I'm excited to continue the dope team I built from last year into this new game. But at the end of the day, it's more of the same, which begs the question of if we need to give the reins of the MLB license to some new blood sometime soon. But with baseball being delayed at least 2 weeks, I imagine this might do really well with more people trying to get their baseball fix. The score I give it after playing for about 4 hours, I'm going to say a 3.5 out of 5. And will I be going back to it at all? Yes, at least to take care of my franchise mode that I love so much. And finally, the last game for Boss Baby Safe Gamer Zone is Persona 5 Royal. Have you played Persona 5 before? Well, yep, here you go. It's the same game pretty much, but with some remixes and quality of life improvements here and there. Grinding out social stats and links already feel Boss Babies Safe Game Zone. Boss Babies Safe Game.
Hey guys. I accidentally messed that up. Sorry.
It's fine.
It's okay. That's really funny.
If you give me a minute, I can get back to where we were. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I mean, there wasn't that much left. Persona before.
No,
Bless just talked about Persona.
You're cutting out a little bit there.
Oh, I am?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I mean, that's what they get. That's what the audience wants. the garbage truck on fire.
They want the garbage truck on fire.
Hearing it cut, start over, and then hearing it cut again, and Kevin being like, "Hey guys."
Well, remember before we started, Kevin, you wouldn't have known this, listener. But Kevin was, I cannot pause this. I can either start it or stop it, but I can't pause it.
Also, there's construction going on at Kevin's
is.
house.
There's construction.
So I got it again. I can get back in there.
Okay.
I'm gonna cut my mic now. Bye.
Go for it.
Bye.
Although Kamoshida is a gross dude, so I get it. And of course, the other changes I've noticed, I've met 3 new characters. Jose,
Kevin's
which
maybe
I can't
got
tell if that, which is a new item in Palaces, which will replenish there.
We don't hear it,
Grinding out
Kev.
social stats and links already feels better with just the few changes I've seen of what options you have at your disposal, especially at nighttime. At least from what I remember, there's a little more to do now at LeBlanc. So
working from home
has been helping
or hardly working. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, Greg.
Oh, can you guys not hear that?
No.
Huh.
And that was Boss Baby's safe game, or maybe safe gamer zone. Blessing, it's time to move on.
It is.
Not a new segment at all. We've been doing this for a while. It's called 104 PSN games ranked. Each week we read through the drop on the PlayStation blog and each pick a different PSN game to play. The next week we report back and rank the games in one ridiculous list. The rules are simple. We can't pick the same game. We can't pick something AAA, and it shouldn't be something we're going to play anyway. So far, your top 10 of 16 games looks like this. Number 1, Darwin Project. That was a Blessing game. Number 2, Foxyland 2. That was a Greg game. Number 3, Mosaic. That was me. Number 4, Zombie Army 4 Dead War. That was me. That's not right. That was Blessing, right?
No, that was you.
I'm confusing it with the Hunt. Number 5, Under Hero. Blessing. Number 6, It Came from Space and Ate Our Brains. Greg. Number 7, Throw Anything. Blessing. Number 8, Earth Knight. Blessing. Number 9, Hunt Showdown. Blessing. And then number 10, Graveyard Keeper. Blessing. Now, Bless, we took a week off for the underrated, so we should actually each have 2 different games to put into the rankings here.
We do.
I will start. I had Separation and Hidden Through Time. Separation was the first one we picked. It was a PlayStation VR game. It's basically it's not great, period. But think like the Witness in VR. But not as crazy with the puzzles. Like you're on this mountain, you're trying to guide this light through some crystals to connect it all to break a seal to get somebody out who's popping up with written dialogue and a little bit of stuff. It's misty, like, you know what I mean? It's got that kind of vibe to it of like, why am I on this island? What am I trying to do? Move around and do these different. How do I get here? How do I turn that light on? How do I rotate this to move the light around the island and stuff? If you're new to 104 games ranked, these are not full-blown reviews. So like I didn't finish this. It just wasn't my jam. Like it reminded me of, and not unfinished because I'm not trying to talk shit about it, but like the world is very angular in a way it's not supposed to be, right? Like you're in there and it is like, oh, okay, these are very sharp edges to these rocks in this world. It just never grabbed me because it was, and now granted, for the record, like The Witness isn't like a game. I don't like these like open, what am I doing on this island, puzzly worlds to begin with. This is not nearly as complex as The Witness. This doesn't look as good as The Witness. Nothing to that, like stature, but to give you an idea of my own personal feelings and where I stand in all of it. Like it was all right. I wandered around, but the whole time it was just like, all right, what am I doing? And like I had to go in and turn up the run speed. And even then I wasn't moving as quick as I wanted to be running. I think it's meant to be more contemplative and sit there and think it through and figure out how to do these puzzles and stuff like that. But it isn't visually interesting. I didn't find the puzzles or the reward to all the puzzles all that interesting either of, how to get from A to B and get the thing to move the thing. It was just one of those kind of games. And even if you were into that, I don't think I would recommend it, right? Like, it falls in line a little bit with Eclipse Edge of Light, which is another PlayStation VR game I had done that was a port from a mobile studio. And it's very similar because that was another one of wandering around. What happened on this planet? It didn't have the amount of puzzles or things like this. The Eclipse was simpler in terms of what you were doing, but it was very much you'd walk up and, and you get the text on screen that's telling you about what happened or, pushing you forward. I feel presentation wise, Separation did that better with like putting the words up and making them look prettier because Eclipse was very in your face and like I'm clearly an older VR mobile game. However, I thought I was more into Eclipse's story than I was Separation's. Like Separation didn't give me enough early on, other than like there's this like symbol on a wall that's glowing, and like I need to break that to get the person out. Eclipse was like you're on a weird alien planet. What happened here? And getting the prophet messages and flashbacks as you went through. So for me personally, when I start thinking about how I'm going to rank it, right, for Separation, I already want to put it below Eclipse Edge of Light, which would put in Eclipse Edge of Light right now is at number 11. So then it's like Space Channel 5, it's Katana Kami, Spartan Fist, Music Racer, Brain Breaker. For me, and this is an easy one, I don't think I have to actually talk to you, Bless, about it. So I should just do the show and you should hang up. But I would rather play Katana Kami than it, and I'd rather play this than Spartan Fist. So I want to put Separation in at a fat number 14.
Go for it.
Gotcha. Go for it. Go for it, Andy. Go for it, Nick. And while I'm here, I'll talk about Hidden Through Time if you don't mind. Just get my 2 out of the way.
Go for it.
Hidden Through Time. Let me start. It's basically, if you remember when we were looking at the blog, or I guess we didn't do this show, right? We did this through text and stuff. I was looking through it, and it's very much Where's Waldo? It looks like the Where's Waldo books, and the idea of Hidden Through Time is that just like the Where's Waldo books, where you page around and you go from cavemen to ancient Egypt to people fighting around the Knights of the Round Table. It's very similar to that, except it's animated to an extent, and you're moving around. And rather than trying to find Waldo at the bottom of the screen, it gives you several various images that you're then looking for and trying to go through and click. So it's a video game picture book of going through and selecting. And let me tell you, Blessing, what a delightful game.
Really?
I mean, I growing up or as a kid, I loved right? Like I thought that was fun. And I always liked the, you get Sunday funnies or whatever. And they always have like the spot the difference ones where you're like analyzing the pictures, trying to figure out what you wanted for it. Like this, especially in the world we're currently in, like it's got this super chill beats to vibe to soundtrack to it. And you're just there's no time limit. There's no clicking clock or anything like that. You're not graded on how fast you did it. It's just this world you get to zoom in and zoom out on and try to find all these things at the bottom. And, it's not that you have to find every image in a setting. You get to find a certain amount, and then you can advance to the next setting if you want to and go through time to go through all these different things. But of course, you can sit there and you can find each and every one of them. I shouldn't even get there, I guess. So that's what it is, right? And there's a story mode, then there's free play, of course. But more interestingly, Blessing, for this weird Where's Waldo knockoff game, there you can create your own scenes and then you can share them online.
Okay, so that's cool.
Even if you didn't want to create, you can just go in and have an endless amount, endless in theory, amount of picture books to go that other people have built, where they've written in the text and they've laid it all out the way they want to and whatever. And it's like, that was super unexpected for me for this $8 PSN game I had never heard of or whatever. And it really brought me back to a time like we joke around about it back at IGN when we all reviewed so much stuff, and you would sit down and you'd find these games. Like this reminds me, like, we're talking about underrateds, or it's like, this isn't, I don't think what is going to go down as one of my underrated PlayStation 4 games, but it was like, man, here's a game I never would have given a fucking shot to, and I never would have paid attention to, but I'm playing it and I'm like, I actually enjoy this. I'm not going to delete it. I'm not going to delete it, number one, from my PS4. So when I do want to just chill out and look for shit, it's there. And I'm not going to, it's an easy platinum if you went through, because you can just look up, obviously, images and everything's circled. It's not like it's randomly generated. I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm just going to let it sit there and fuck around with it every so often. Like, Hidden Through Time is honestly one of the best games I've played, I think, on this thing. And that's why I want to vote it at number 2 above Foxyland.
Jeez. Yo, I'm into it. I love it.
And you can tell me if you think if I sold it better. Project feels like, with all respect to everybody else on the list, a real game with like a whole bunch of different shit happening. Hidden Through Time's a really well done Where's Waldo in a video game.
I mean, it sounds like a great number 2. Like it sounds like a great game. I'm shocked, but also like delighted by how much fun you had with it and you're having with it. It's making me actually want to check it out and see.
Get it in there. Get Through Time, Bless.
Yeah, I might.
Okay,
I might.
What were your 2 games?
So my first game was Under Night in Birth EXE Late Clear, which in short,
don't like that name at all.
From now on, I'm going to refer to it as Unit Clear because that's how the community calls this game. Okay. It's a fighting game And I'm gonna read from Wikipedia what it is, and I'm gonna read some of the plot. All right. So Wikipedia reads, Under Night in Birth is a visual novel and 2D fighting game co-developed by Equal Software and Frenchbred, known for the licensed fighting game Type Moon's Melty Blood series. Since its initial arcade in Japan, Under Night in Birth has received numerous version updates, blah, 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 right? And so those are a bunch of words that probably mean nothing to a lot of people. But just in that first sentence, right? It's a visual novel and a 2D fighting game. I played a lot of fighting games. I don't think I played a fighting game with an actual visual novel just like being like half the game. And so I opened up Under Night in Birth, under Uniclear. I opened up Uniclear, right? And one, the presentation's amazing. Two, there are multiple modes, right? There's the arcade mode, but then there's something called Chronicles, which I went into thinking that like that was a story mode, and it is. I started like watching different cutscenes from different characters of the story of the game.
Yeah.
And when I was expecting to like be put into like fighting scenarios, like I was expecting in between like the visual novel elements to then be transferred into like me like fighting out or whatever, like you would expect in this kind of game. No, it's just like a long visual novel. Like it is just a visual novel. It's a whole story. There's these things called the Void, I guess, and like it's basically like a monsters are invading the real world kind of thing.
Okay.
Like it is very in depth, like very nerdy,
in depth,
very nerdy in a way where the visual novel stuff, I was like, all right, this ain't for me. I see what y'all are doing here. Also, like the translation didn't seem that great, or the localization, I should say, didn't seem that great. But like I respect it. The fighting, oh man, it's awesome. Like,
yeah.
As a fighting game, Under Night in Birth is like an elite 2D fighting game.
Okay.
I like. One, the character selection seems really cool, like the different characters and like the different abilities and the different all their fighting styles seem somewhat similar in a way that is accessible, and so all the characters seem to have a quarter circle forward and a quarter circle back, which means like a downright square move, basically. Like think like Street Fighter, right?
Yeah.
Like square, triangle, circle.
Yeah, I'm
like,
following.
Light, medium, heavy. X is like to charge your guard. If you press back X, I think it's like a counter kind of thing. Now I know I'm getting way too in depth, but it's basically a 2D fighting game with some unique aspects to it. But the fighting is awesome. It's really fun. I've had a blast playing it. Two, the presentation is like off the chain. Like they really like struck a nice style with how it's like a pixelated kind of style, but like very detailed pixel art. Mixed with like actual like non-pixelated art for like the backgrounds and a lot of the things. The soundtrack is incredible. The like just like the text and like the effects on screen are great. And overall, like I've had like a really 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 good time with Under Night in Birth EXE Late Clear.
You said you were gonna use the abbreviated name. Start using it.
Yeah, with Uniclear.
Yeah,
and so like. Right now, that game is my number one, honestly.
Damn.
Like, I enjoyed it more than Darwin Project. I've enjoyed it more than any other game played on this list. And like, here's the thing that throws a wrench in it is that Uniclear is an update. It's a situation where Under Night in Birth came out, and then Under Night in Birth Late ST, which is called Unist, came out, which was like an update for Under Night in Birth, the original game that came out like I want to say 2013, like came out a while ago, which I never heard about. Uniclear is the latest update to come out for that.
Okay.
The reason why I was on the drop is because it's its own $60 release.
Sure.
Or it's its own individual release. I don't know if it's $60, but it's its own release, and so you buy it as a full game. But it basically comes with a new character and new I don't know if there's new stages, but like new story elements, and then like a bunch of balancing changes. And I think they also like made like graphical updates as well. And so I'm actually unsure of how to like judge it, because for me I think it's game.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's new to you. We don't have to get. I mean, this is the top 104 PSN games ranked. You don't have to get. We don't.
Yeah, and so I think I'm just gonna put it out number one, because for me coming into
number one, who would have seen it coming?
As a new player getting into it and playing it, I'm like, this is an elite fighting game, and it is fun. It is polished. It's fantastic. Granted, it's had all these years to kind of like
whatever.
That point.
Who cares?
So it feels unfair, but I'm just gonna judge this as a new person coming into this game. It's number one.
I'm proud of you. I like that. I like that a lot.
I also played Super Destronaut Land Wars, which is a Rattlika game.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh, I know it well. Know it well. I mean, I haven't started it, but I know that I already have.
Oh, are you playing
the first Super Destroyer? No, I haven't.
Really?
I have the codes. The Rattlika sent me the codes, but I haven't touched it yet. I've been too busy.
That's funny. Yeah, so for people who listen to the show are probably well aware of Rattlika at this point. They have a lot of easy platinum games.
Hell yeah, they do.
I now understand what you're getting at with Foxland, right? Foxland was the other Rattlika game with the easy platinum. Yep. That was actually like really fun and stuff. I didn't get the platinum in Super Destronaut because I don't care enough to get the platinum, but I had a lot of fun with it. Like for a game that is it's like a $5 game on PSN, but for a game that is like so small scale and a game that is very cheap, it's a pretty good game. Like it's simple. It's a first person shooter with like pixelated graphics, if that makes sense. Like it's not like pixelated, but the style of it is super like lo-fi, like video game lo-fi. Like playing it reminded me of like the movie Pixels, where you have like Pac-Man in real life. It's kind of like that kind of yeah, it's kind of that kind of style, but everything is like very old school, like digital gamey, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
It's a first person shooter. You're basically like going for as long as you can go in like an arcade mode, and there are like a few different weapons. You can get like a grenade launcher or like a sniper and like a shotgun, like the basic sort of weapons. And you're basically taking out like the same enemies in waves, and like you're just seeing how far you can go. Super simple game, but like it works. It runs good.
Let's go get that platinum. Don't be ashamed. Go get that plat. Make it your plat of the year.
It doesn't feel like a responsible plat to get, because I feel like for the plats I get, they should be plats that I care about. And I enjoy Super Destronaut. I don't know if I care about Super Destronaut like that. But yeah, it's a fun game as far as ranking it.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm putting it right below. Yeah, actually no. It deserves to go higher. Hold on.
I like that. I like the debate. I like what you thought you had it, you didn't have it. And
I thought, because I was gonna put it under Throw Anything, but I feel even more positive on it.
I was gonna say no. I think it would go higher than that, right? Because it sounds like better than It Came from Space and Ate Our Brains, which is one of my games.
Yeah,
it seems like you enjoyed it. I mean, I see it going up that list, but you tell me.
I'm gonna put it under Hero.
Okay, number 8.
Number 8. I had a lot of criticisms for Under Hero, but that's because I think Under Hero is legitimately like a good game that like could have been better if it got around some of its hurdles. Super Destronaut Land Wars is a very simple game that, for me, for how simple it is, I'm surprised that I had as much fun with it as I did.
Wow.
If that makes sense. And so
yeah, it does.
It's more so like a expectations thing, that if anything, when I talk about Under Hero versus Super Destronaut. But I'm gonna put Super Destronaut under Hero for those reasons.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you ready to make your next picks? We have to pick our poison over here.
I honestly forgot about this part.
Don't worry, I'll go fast. Over on the drop, this is what is out this week. Actually, out already for the most part, which is rare for us. Chop is Dish on PlayStation 4. Chop is Dish tells the story of one cook who was robbed by some mystical creatures. Some strange monsters had suddenly appeared in his forest and stole his master chef's chunk of beef. I'm going to abbreviate some of these. It goes on like that. Doom 64. I don't think that counts, right?
Wait, no, that is... well, no. It's not AAA. Well, actually, I guess at the time it would have been AAA, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that doesn't count.
All right, Doom Eternal, that doesn't count. Epic Word Search Collection, sorry. On PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita, it lives. Epic Word Search puzzles are enormous. There are more than 1,500 words hidden in each massive scrollable grid. This collection contains a whole bunch of different word searches. Explosive Jake is on PS4 and PS Vita. It lives. Explosive Jake is a classic arcade game. Not only humans are afraid of the dark and deep dungeons. Our hero is a little skeleton with an unhealthy love of explosions, trying to escape from the dangerous castle dungeons. Help him avoid enemies and explode his way out. Kamiko is the next one. Kamiko is a game styled around, and this is on PlayStation 4, styled around Japanese Shinto beliefs. Fight as priestess and battle against demons while solving puzzles to make your way through the stages. Look no further if you are looking for an arcade action game with a twist. Memory serves, this one came to Switch a long time ago as an indie, and Andy really liked it.
Oh.
La Mulana 1 comes to PS4. Experience a classic tale of exploration, puzzle solving, and deadly action. Take control of archaeologist Lameza Kosugi and investigate and navigate through puzzles, traps, and deadly guardians. Seems like it's an old one, because then there's La Mulana 2 on PlayStation 4. Whoa. Experience a classic, and it is literally the exact same description. MLB The Show 20 to AAA, can't do it. Neverlast on PlayStation 4. Stop the demon invasion by destroying the 3 runic portals before it's too late in this fast action first-person fantasy game as a reckless hero from a bygone era. RBI Baseball 20 is on PlayStation 4. Nah, can't do that one. Rainbows, Toilets, and Unicorns is on PlayStation 4. Rainbows, Toilets, and Unicorns is a fast-paced shoot-'em-up bullet hell where you'll have to progress through waves of enemies and beat 15 bosses. There are 5 different and completely crazy worlds. On your trip into the crazy world of unicorns, you can vent your unjustified frustration and face all your most unfounded fears. Next is Red Death on PlayStation 4. Blast through waves of arcane enemies and take down monstrous bosses as you defend the Earth against an unknown calamity. As a prologue to Project Starship, vertical bullet hell shoot 'em up, Red Death sets a collision course against a full-scale invasion bent on eradicating humanity, presented in nostalgic 4-tone style. Then Round Guard comes to PlayStation 4. Castle Spring Bottom is under attack. It's up to Round Guard to save the king and recover his gold. Fling your hero into the face of danger and bounce off hordes of dangerously cute monsters to reach the bottom of the dungeon. With only one life, you'll need to learn how to navigate hazards, make strategic choices, and master your hero's skills if you hope to defeat the final boss. Then next is Thunderpaw. And this is on PlayStation 4 and Vita. It lives. Thunder was out playing with his ball in the fields when he suddenly heard a loud explosion near his house. He rushed home worried about his parents, only to find no one was there. Just a single letter that said his parents had been kidnapped. It's up to Thunder to rescue them. Thunder is a dog, by the way, and it looks like he's fighting cats and maybe a bear. TT Isle of Man Ride on the Edge 2. Racing across over 60 kilometers long ultra-technical track at breakneck speed requiring realistic riding skills. That is the challenge that awaits in TT2. Blessing, what are you feeling for your pick?
Oh man, Kamiko looks cool.
Yeah,
I mean, I think I'm pretty dead set on Kamiko because like the other choice I would make would probably be Rainbows, Toilets, and Unicorns. But that's one that I might have already played, or I might have played anyway, given that we talked about that one on KFGD, and I think you already downloaded it, right?
That's where I'm in a pickle this week. Because my 2 games that I would want to pick from are Rainbows, Toilets, and Unicorns, and Round Guard. Now, Rainbows, Toilets, and Unicorns, yeah, on Games Daily, one day we watched the trailer and I was like, that looks hilarious. So I downloaded it on my Switch and I played like 4 seconds of it on stream and I haven't gone back to it. Then Round Guard, similarly, they can't say this, obviously. Round Guard, you should play because it's Peggle. It's just Peggle, guys. It's roguelike Peggle.
This is the one you've been talking about.
I downloaded this off of Apple Arcade the other day for all of 10 minutes, I don't know, at my desk before going on a show. So I want to say, I mean, I'll leave it to you, Bless. Can I do one of those games? Because I mean, like, granted, I've started them on other platforms, but I wouldn't have if I had, known that. I didn't even know Round Guard was coming to PlayStation soon, is how they said. I would have waited if I knew it was like less than a week. You know what I mean?
You know what? I'll let it slide.
Okay.
It feels sketchy. It doesn't feel right, but I'll let it slide because I understand the predicament.
It's that. Well, it's one of those things of like, here's the let's just call a spade a spade. If I don't pick one of them right now, I'm not going to play either one of them this week.
That's the other thing.
It's like if I don't do it, then I'll have to play whatever I pick, and I won't do anything good. And I would have picked them either. I'm going to pick Round Guard then.
Awesome. Even though, see, now that you, well, actually, no, I'm going to stick to Kamiko.
Now that I opened up the Rainbow Unicorn toilet people.
Yeah, I thought about it again. I was like, no, I'll stick to it. Kamiko seems cool. I want to know what it's about.
All right then. For next week, you're doing Kamiko. I'm doing Round Guard. Everybody's having a good time. I don't want to hear it in the chat that I am. Bless. I want to save PlayStation greatest hits 2016 for next week, or just whenever we get to it. Of course, you know how we're going through doing 10 episodes where we're picking the best from each year to pick a whole decade of PlayStation titles. Instead, though, I do want to do a PS I Love You XOXO fantasy draft check-in because there's been more action. Bless. I don't know if you know this. If you haven't been following, ladies and gentlemen, we set up a PS I Love You XOXO fantasy critic establishment organization you can go over to. You can check it. Do you remember the link? I always forget the link, Bless. Do you remember the link?
Oh, kindoffunny.com/ I don't know.
That's where it gets hectic. You know what I mean? Hold on. I was updating the list here live. So that's done. And then I can go to tools. I can look and I can go here and then it's going to have it in 3, 2, 1. You can go there and it's PS League. You go to kindoffunny.com/PS League to jump right to our fantasy critic games page here. So right now we have people on the board, Blessing. And I am angry to tell you, Blessing, right now you are in first place.
Oh,
right now Blessing has 16.24 points. I am in second place with 8.72 points. However, the man to watch is one Gio Corsi. So if you don't remember, ladies and gentlemen, we had Jonathan, Callie, Gio, myself, and Blessing sit down, do this fantasy draft, pick a thing of place. It has to be coming to PlayStation, the games this year, and go through and do it. And so when these games get reviewed, then you get points on it. So right now I'm sitting at 9 points because I picked Bloodroots. And for every point above 70 it is on Open Critic, it gets a point. So Bloodroots is at 79 right now. So I have 9 points off of that. However, down here for Blessing, right, you have 16 points from Neo 2. Neo 2 has an 86 right now, giving you 16 points. But, as I said, the person you have to look out for, Blessing, is the one and only Gio Corsi, who with his first pick took Doom Eternal, which is currently at a 90, which would put him at 20 points if that doesn't move around.
Oh, he's also a threat because of his counter pick. I don't know if you see this. Skull and Bones is his counter pick, right? Yeah. And if you remember, the counter pick is the pick that you have to pick a game from somebody else's list that you believe is going to score low or that is not going to come out.
Yeah.
And it seems that Fantasy Critic has updated their site saying that Skull and Bones apparently will not release. I don't know if that's been an announcement somewhere or if that's like
just a
rumor. But if that's the case,
I see that, but I hadn't heard that either.
If that's the case, then Gio Corsi is in a very good place between that and Doom Eternal.
I don't like it. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to invite. So now I'm mad that we did because now this is where we're at.
I never liked him.
I never liked him either. And if he beats us, that's going to be pretty embarrassing on our show. You
know? Yeah, I'm with you.
But for right now, savor the flavor. You're in first place, but Bless.
Hey, I'm savoring it.
You seem like you are.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's PS I Love You. XOXO, episode 11. I told you I was going to streamline it for you, Bless. Make these things more reasonable here. We'll do a PSN profile next time around, of course. There's a whole bunch of different segments. They're all rotating. That's how we do it on the show. You know how it is. If you're saying, though, man, I want more PS I Love You XOXO, don't worry. You can go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. Of course, you can give us some money there, and you can get your questions read on the show. You can get the show ad free. You can get it with a post show. That's right. An exclusive post show we are about to record. So there is more show if you want it. However, if you don't want it, I totally understand. You can stick at youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. You can go to roosterteeth.com. You can listen on podcast services around the globe. Blessing.
Yes.
I don't want you to go crazy in that room, all right?
I'm trying not to. It's hard.
Yeah? The Beat Saber will help. I'm sure it'll help. Don't worry about it.
It's helping a little bit, for sure.
Okay. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen. It's been our pleasure to serve you.